The big three are here, or are they? This week, the announcement was made. The announcement we all expected, the announcement that surprised no one. G.I. Joe #1 coming this November from Skybound. And that is a big deal. I never thought that I would feel like a G.I. Joe book coming out was a big deal. But given the year that we have had, given the year that Skybound and Energon have had, this is probably the biggest announcement that any comic book company could make as far as a book releasing that's not Spider-Man and Batman team up. This book feels like an event in a way that it certainly wouldn't have 10 years ago. And the success of G.I. Joe, plus all the success of the Energon universe this year, has me asking the question, are we in a big three era? We know about Marvel, we know about DC, but is Skybound through the Energon universe the third player? Are we in a triumvirate right now? And what is the order of these three companies? That question has had me excited for days. I can't wait to get to the answer. We've got a full house of pals on deck, though. Big four. We got Big Kale.
The only thing better than one big What's Up Hot Dog is three What's Up Hot Dogs.
Big Marco.
G.I. Whoa.
Big Tyler.
Yo, Joe. That's what they say, right?
And I'm Big Sean.
Okay, all right.
And I wish I didn't say that because I don't like Big Sean. But I'm me. And you guys are you. What's up? Big you. Big ups to the audience, whether you were watching us live or in the future. Thank you for hanging out with us. Make sure you are subscribed. Smash that like button so we can play a game a little bit later. Let's get right into it. G.I. Joe #1 dropping this November
Nice.
from Joshua Williamson,
What?
of course,
Oh, big surprise.
who has been leading the G.I. Joe charge ever since Duke #1 dropped. Handling the G.I. Joe side of things. He also did Cobra Commander. Both books were great. And alongside Scarlet and Destro are setting the table for the first, full G.I. Joe series. It doesn't appear like it's going to be a mini. It looks like it's going to be a full-blown ongoing. That is according to Newsarama and many other outlets who have dropped this news at this point. Skybound says that the G.I. Joe title will introduce a bold new vision of G.I. Joe and Cobra. And it looks like it's going to continue directly from where those books left off. It's going to be drawn by Tom Riley, who joined Joshua Williamson on Duke, and Jordi Belair. So the same creative team from Duke, which was highly successful. It makes sense that they would go back to that.
Powerhouse team, too.
Yeah, for sure. They also promised the debut of an all-new character. They say, featuring the first appearance of an all-new character and many familiar faces, this is the comic that will change everything you think you know about G.I. Joe, and that's only half the surprises in store.
I see what they did there.
I like it. I like it. I think this is the exact right time to make this announcement. Kicking off event season, it's a little unfortunate that G.I. Joe's not hitting stands in July or August, but November's as good a time. We know that DC is going to be pushing out their absolute books, we believe they'll be pushing them out.
Allegedly.
Yeah, starting in October-ish. So if they have this G.I. Joe book coming out, it means that they'll be able to compete on that level when the time comes. Are they counter-programming? Nah, I don't think so. But I do think that this is a great announcement that gives me a lot of confidence in the future of G.I. Joe and Skybound. Where are you guys at with this?
I think it's a smart time to release it, actually.
Agreed.
Like, avoid this summer. Avoid the... Let Scarlet cook for a bit. Let Destro cook for a bit. And kind of avoid the big event books that are happening. And we always assume that DC events usually happen in, like, September, October for New York Comic Con. or like their whatever their new initiatives are. So even like going outside of that a little later makes sense. I think it's a smart move, and I think it's smart announcing it now as well.
Yeah, yeah, agreed. It feels like because they're avoiding all of the event stuff, you can also see how those things play out. You have your other books that have been building up to this announcement and to this release continue on. You can gauge the success from each individual title from there, and then it all culminates into post DC events, post Marvel events, into an event just for them, and that leads energy into the new year, coming off of the fervor that you can probably build for New York Comic Con. Like I imagine there more reveals, more things are going to be announced. You can play into a lot of just the free advertisement from there.
When is Absolute Power projected to end? About September?
Yeah, it's 4 issues, so probably in that realm. Yeah.
G.I. Joe #1 hits. That's gonna suck the air out of the room of a Justice League announcement.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'll call that shot. Like, I think at this point in time, unless something absolutely insane happens, I think a GI Joe announcement and like book will be the talk of the con versus anything DC is going to have to put on the table.
Well, not only that,
Wow.
because DC is not president New York Comic Con, at least really. They have a small little thing that maybe shows off a Blue Beetle costume or something. But Image is very president New York Comic Con. They have probably one of the bigger booths, next to Marvel. So if they really show off, like, hey, this is the GI Joe, book that's coming out, maybe an ash can like they did last year. I think they could really be the belle of the ball, I guess, for New York Comic Con this year. Again, I think they were last year, and I think they could be again this year.
Chat says the audio's low, Tyler. Let's get that fixed. I don't want to say too much without them being able to hear us.
Below our GI load.
Oh God.
Had that locked
That was vile. Oh, it's my audio, I think. Okay.
All right. So you're saying we're probably good now then?
We should be. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Kale said something very interesting that I would love to chew on because
As I'm wont to do.
right, of course. This conversation is about Marvel, DC, and Skybound. And, G.I. Joe is the biggest salvo that the Energon universe can launch until the first crossover, right? So until the point that we get Transformers and G.I. Joe really doing a crossover story, G.I. Joe #1 is the first big at bat. Now, Justice League #1, you would think, is the biggest salvo that DC can throw out there, other than Absolute, which I think is going to be big. But the idea that G.I. Joe #1 could be bigger than Justice League #1 is not something that I actually thought about. So do you guys think that G.I. Joe 1 will be bigger than Justice League, regardless of who the creative team is, regardless of the characters involved, regardless of how big Absolute Power ends up being?
So I think that no matter what, we're going to get a Justice League that we know about. It's going to have your Superman. It's going to have your Batman. It's going to have your Wonder Woman. It's going to have your Green Lantern. It's going to have your Flash. We know all that. That place setting is there. It will always be there. Unless you've been reading G.I. Joe for however long, 40 years at this point, what they're doing is so up in the air. It could be anything. And I think that's what's really exciting to me as a modern reader.
You can play off the fact that this is a property that I know about tangentially, but it has such a resurgence brought on by such a force of promotion and excitement that, yeah, a new Justice League is going to launch. It's been missing. And if you've been following DC, which I think like more people are probably following DC than they are the Energon pieces, or are slowly shifting into an Energon, maybe Image, Ghost Machine, Skybound environment. For me, what is the excitement of the Justice League coming back? Cool, it's the big team, but there's so much new thing coming out and going on with the Energon.
Especially if they market this GI Joe book as having a crossover with some Transformers thing as well. Like think of like a special variant that has, I don't know, Cobra punching Megatron in the shin or something. The variant's gonna go crazy on this one, but also like we'll talk about sales, but sales kind of allude to this being big. I mean, look at how Scarlet sold.
Yeah. I mean, the series that they've put out so far have all done great. And I expect if Thundercats can do 175,000 orders, if TMNT, which obviously TMNT is much bigger than GI Joe, but if TMNT can do 300,000 orders, then I think that a GI Joe #1, with all the goodwill that's been built up, can easily cross 150K. I don't think that's crazy to suggest.
Yeah.
And I don't actually know that I think a Justice League #1 can cross 150K.
No.
It's been too cold lately. They put that shit on ice.
That's a crazy thought. That's a crazy thought. I never, if you would have told me 1 year ago, just 1 year ago, maybe even 6 months ago, that a Justice League #1 would be not as hot of a property as G.I. Joe #1, I would have told you, no way, you're crazy. And yet, that's where we're at. And it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
I never thought as an adult, growing up into the age that I am in the year of our Lord 2024, that I would ever be in a position to like G.I. Joe. Ever.
Or to be excited about it. Like
let alone be excited about it.
Right. Like those books exist. They've existed. And it was always at an ancillary publisher. And why read it unless you're invested? And now this is the reason to invest. And there's energy there. Energon there.
Not only that, like
Man.
how I didn't expect to like a book that dealt with just, like armies and war profiteering and stuff.
That's the thing.
But this has been written in a way where it's kind of outside the government. It's dealing with laser beams. It's a little more Transformers-y, action-packed and non-denominational, where I can have fun without overthinking about it.
Let's talk sales, because I think that even forgetting the prospect of G.I. Joe #1, even putting that to the side, there is evidence. I don't think you can argue right now that Skybound is not in the conversation. I don't think that can be argued. I think they are absolutely in the conversation for the big three.
Sorry, just a question on that. Are you taking Skybound itself and not the fact that it's a subsidiary of Image? Because
I don't. Go ahead.
Sorry, just because I feel like the Image in totality, with Ghost Machine, with its own publishing line, and with now Skybound building this section under the Image banner, like, does that not feel as the triumvirate being Image bolstered by the subsidiaries themselves?
I don't know, man. I feel like Image is not like, people aren't thinking about Image. They're thinking about Skybound. And I know that Skybound is a part of Image, of course, but that's not where the heat is. But so what I was gonna get at is when you look at sales, like, let's look at May. I've got ICV2.com's top 50 for May. And I know that sales figures in comics right now are very difficult to track. And, you can't be fully sure that what you're looking at is 100% representative of every comic book shop. Okay, we got it. Let's get that conversation out of the way. All right. Going with what we have. This is what May looked like just a month ago. Okay. And I want you to keep in mind this top 10 as we discuss who is where in the big three. Okay. Number 1, and this is for units sold. So the actual amount of books, regardless of the cost. Number 1 was Doom. Doom number 1. That was the highest selling book of May. 2, Amazing Spider-Man number 49. I'm sorry. No, excuse me. 2 was Ultimate Spider-Man number 5. 3 was Amazing Spider-Man 49. 4 was Transformers number 8. 5, you had Ultimate X-Men. 6, Amazing Spider-Man 50. 7 was Batman. 7. So Batman, a book that is typically within the number 1 to 2 range, drops all the way to 7. 8 was Wolverine, 9 was Wolverine, and 10 was Spider-Gwen. So within the top 10, there is only one DC book. If we expand that to the top 20, there are only 2 DC books. The only other one that makes it is Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong, number 7.
Not even mainline, like it's an ancillary title.
That's
Yikes.
not good for DC.
Nuts. Batman is number 8.
And I wonder if you can take this from like a few different standpoints of sales versus where it feels like the publishers, like the posturing, like the whether or not the brand name carries weight enough to still remain in a position above one or the other.
In Sean, what issue of Transformers was it? That was number 4? 7?
8.
Like, you can't even say, like, it's a new number 1 that outbeat Batman. Like, they're both mid-arc. Yeah. Just got a super chat from Atomic Hound. Thank you, Atomic Hound. Skybound feels like their moves add to the tapestry of the ENERGON universe, while Marvel and DC feel less story-driven and more to preserve market share. 1 is story, 2 are financial. Story wins in this kennel. Great topic. Is that what you call your household now, the kennel? Cool.
That's rad.
Thank you, Atomic Hound, for the 1999. Appreciate the support as always. Atomic Hound breaking things off with the first super chat of the day. Let's see some more of those. Would love to see some more super chats. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Click the like button, Hulk. Smash it if you enjoy the conversation. Join the channel. You can join the channel by clicking the join button. You get access to some slick emojis and early access to some videos on the other side of that join button. Thank you so much, Hound. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a part of that too. Marvel has Blood Hunt going on right now. And, I know that there are people that are enjoying it. It's not like it's detestable overall. I personally do not enjoy it. And I think that it represents what's wrong at the big 2 a lot of times, where it's like, all right, May is coming up, June is coming up, July is coming up. We need an event. What's it going to be? And they make the decision right then and there to do something. And that something just doesn't have any story behind it. It doesn't have any meat behind it. It's just a story to tell for the sake of it. And people are sick of that. How many of those have we got? Who cares?
Had 3 this year.
Yeah, it doesn't feel exciting at all.
If you look back to Sins of Sinister was one of the other ones that like felt like it's supposed to matter and coalesce into a lot, but it kind of falls apart, especially with the decline of the X line. There's a lot of factors that make Marvel just feel weaker overall artistically.
Well, Sins of Sinister, I don't feel like is a great example because that was a story that they built to. Whether we liked it or not, that is in line with what they should be doing. It just didn't work out for us. Blood Hunt has nothing behind it.
Night Terrors.
Night Terrors had nothing behind it.
Even
everybody
Bloodhunt.
fell asleep magically. Like,
Yeah, Joker had a day job. Even Bloodhunt had vampires building up to it, but it's not being addressed in the actual story. Like they had build up, but the build up is not part of the actual story. It's confusing.
I'm not really even willing to give Marvel credit for that because
No, I mean
that's something that's been happening for so long that it's not baked in. It has nothing to do with Bloodhunt. Yeah, I think you're right, AH. I definitely agree with what you're saying. But back to these numbers, when you look at this list, it just doesn't paint a very good picture for DC. Obviously, Marvel is in pole position. That has been the case for like 50 years almost, like a long time. And it ain't changing, I don't think, as far as like Marvel and DC are concerned. I don't believe there's ever going to be a time where DC can truly, genuinely compete with the kind of sales that Marvel generates. There's something that Marvel does that people are tapped into that DC hasn't been able to figure out. And they put their best and brightest behind it. What scares me for DC isn't Marvel. It's the fact that Skybound now has books that people want to read that are cracking the top 5. That's wild. That's wild. Let's look past May and let's look at Bleeding Cool, because Bleeding Cool puts out their sales figures weekly. They do a top 10 and their figures come from data that they source from over 100 comic book stores. Again, I understand that is not representative of every comic shop. Let's look at this past week. This particular bestseller list was dropped on the 23rd of June. So number 1 is Ultimate Spider-Man 6. Number 2 is Amazing Spider-Man 52. Number 3 is Destro number 1. Destro number 1. And these are sales at shops. This is point of sale. This isn't orders. This is point of sale.
Oh, okay. That's different.
So Destro, number 3. Batman, number 4. Batman 149. Number 5 was Uncle Scrooge. Uncle fucking Scrooge and the Infinity Dime sold almost as much as Batman did. There are 2 more DC books in the top 10. Wonder Woman, number 10, and Batman Superman World's Finest. Batman Superman is being beat out by Doctor Strange.
And Uncle Scrooge.
Yeah, the Uncle Scrooge, I don't even understand that. But that's like, that could be an outlier. You're bringing in Disney adults, like, you know, that seems nuts to me, but okay, fine.
What'd you say fuck me for? Jeez.
well, hey, listen.
I like Disney adults. I'm just saying, you bring them into the fold when you put Uncle Scrooge in a comic.
You the numbers.
I also Uncle Scrooge is a comic mainstay, and it's Jason Aaron, so there's other factors too.
And the first stat that you read where Batman was 8th, that was for pre-orders, right?
No,
So-
that's
that was
as far as I
point of
know,
sale as well?
that's sales. Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. I'm a big DC guy right now. I think that book per book, I'm probably enjoying more DC than Marvel. But I can't look at these sales figures and say that DC's number 2 right now. I can't do that. And that's my big hot take. That at this moment in time, I go Marvel, Skybound, DC.
And you're saying that's based on the numbers.
I'm saying that's based on numbers and it's based on hype.
Sure.
Yes, DC Comics puts out more comics than Skybound does. So if you look at a top 50, there are going to be more DC books on it than Skybound. There are more books. But when you're talking about excitement level and when you're talking about pre-orders and when you're talking about point of sale, at the top level, the books that matter, Skybound is competing with DC Comics.
You know what? I asked that question. It's not even the Skybound part I was taking umbrage with.
Oh,
for me, it's very much DC Skybound Marvel. But at that point, we're getting into taste. That's why I was clarifying.
okay.
But I think with DC, do you think there's an issue with the over dilution of their brands? The fact that there's how many books that say Batman in the title that makes the main Batman title then suffer in terms of sales?
How many are there? There's Batman, Batman and Robin,
Batman Brave and the Bold,
Batman Brave and the Bold, Batman and Superman. Detective is a Batman book, but it doesn't have his name in the title. But okay, so there's five Batman books. But Batman, core Batman, has always sold as one of the top 2 to 3 best books. I don't think that you can really use that as an argument to give DC a way out of this. A lot of people have dropped Batman. Make no mistake.
Dude, the buzz because I'm trying to tap into what the overall sentiment of some books are. People aren't hot on this Batman run, it seems.
They're not.
Which is wild to me. Yeah.
Is it?
Although, yeah, I kind of get it.
Once I hear the critiques, I'm like, I get it.
I like it. I think it's good. But Gotham War was not it. It was not it at all. The primary villain is a robot. The secondary villain is some random guy from Chip Zdarsky's The Knight from 4 years ago that nobody cares about. And he broke up the Bat family, which people are sick to death of seeing.
And in the middle of this, final arc or whatever, we had a blessed month of Joker Year One. And I say that was a blessed month because it wasn't a damned 3 months. Like,
right.
It's also what you mentioned earlier, Sean, where these Skybound books are competing with Batman. That also has to mean that for them to be in that top 5 contention, top 3 contention, other books, other titles have to be dropped. That means I am choosing this title over the Batman book, over the Wonder Woman book, over an Ultimate Spider-Man, because we know that most of the readers will go to what attracts them normally, right? I know I'm going to pick up my Wednesday Warriors, going to pick up Action Comics, going to pick up Batman, going to pick up Wonder Woman. Actually, maybe I'm thinking I'm not feeling Wonder Woman this month. I'm going to go get an ENERGON book. Maybe, Amazing Spider-Man didn't hit. I'm going to go pick up Destro or something. Like, there's that, because they rise in this game, it also means that one of the other publishers, one of the other books probably has to fall.
We thought Batman was untouchable. That's what people thought. That's what a lot of people believed. I have known differently ever since Tom King's run. Tom King's run proved that it is not a guarantee that Batman will sell in the top 3.
I think it's proof that when you stray too far away from the formula with Batman, then sales drop, which is exactly what we're seeing with Chip's run.
What's the formula?
Well, having a core family, Alfred being around, having, more recognizable rogues gallery.
I don't know about that. I think the people just aren't enjoying it.
Yeah.
There's even a lot more chatter about Detective than there is Batman.
That's actually true.
I think Detective is taking bigger swings and it's more chat worthy. But I wonder if even the sales that Batman is getting are completionists.
Chip's playing the hits in a lot of ways.
Mm.
Uncanny Suit. What's up, Uncanny? So many of you in the chat. What's up, Uncanny? What's up, Izzy? Comics are dope. What is up, my man? Blaze Man, K Manifesto, CW Gordon, Brian Adkins, Aaron Ruiz. Those are the names I see right now. So it's up to all of you. Uncanny says, I remember how shocking it was to some people when Immortal Hulk was outselling King's Batman. Feels like it's only gone downhill for Bat interest since then. Yeah. That should never have happened. Immortal Hulk, hot as it was, should never have been able to outsell Batman. But it did. People are simply not as committed to buying DC books, regardless of what's happening in them, as they are Marvel's. Everybody talks about how bad Amazing Spider-Man is. I don't agree, but that's what people say. And yet, it is every week a top 2 bestseller. We just
list.
read out May. It had 2 books in the top in May.
Yep.
And now they have Ultimate Spider-Man, which is number 1 every time it comes out. And some people aren't happy with that. It's like Marvel cannot do wrong. And no matter what DC does right, they're still wrong. Like they just can't figure it out. Meanwhile, Skybound has all the goodwill in the world. Every single book they have put out has been popular and has hit. I didn't care as much for Destro, but everything else has been excellent. Excellent.
I'd also add to the fact that they're building a universe.
Yeah.
So everything is going to be interesting.
Exactly.
It's coming from the ground up. You have to construct things where you would have had to rely on the history of Marvel and DC properties.
And that's essentially what MP just said in this $20 super chat. Thank you so much, MP. They say, I'm a fan of Zdarsky's Batman run, but it also represents the culmination of the same tropes and ideas from the past 20 years of mainline Batman comics. I think creators need to look past Morrison for sources of inspiration.
Wow.
Fucking going for the jugular there.
I don't think I realized how many people dip to the Morrison well until it's been spoken that bluntly.
That is a tremendous point. Like, think about how big of a swing House and Powers was, right? And think about the last time we saw that big of a swing in the X line. Would have been Morrison's New X-Men, which was almost 20 years prior. So for 20 years, the X line was playing off of what Morrison did and certainly what Claremont had done and didn't move forward. And when they finally did, it represented a huge amount of sales for Marvel that they couldn't even let go of because it was so damn hot. But Batman is stuck doing stuff that Morrison first introduced. Zor-En-Arr is a Morrison concept. And when they did it, it was excellent and fresh and cool and hot and everything else. And then when we talk about Chip's usage of it, and when you talk about Serkinar, it's like, what the fuck are we doing? And for those of you who don't know, Serkinar is Dick Grayson's version of it. So it's this interesting concept, this fascinating idea that then gets watered down through the machine and becomes a laughable joke.
Much like Haha NR.
Oh my God, no. No, Kale.
Is that Joker's version?
Yep.
I was going to go with Zerdy Har Har.
I think I just woke Sean's sleeper agent up.
Oh my God, dude. That's horrifying to me.
We know it's there.
Hey, thanks a lot, MP. Really appreciate you, dude. Yeah, so I mean, look, I have pulled out the sales figures that Bleeding Cool put out there for the month of June, and they pretty much always look the same. So if we look at the week of the 9th, Ultimates #1 was #1, X-Men 35, Amazing Spider-Man 51, Scarlet #4, and #5, Batman 148. So Batman beat out by Scarlet.
A secondary G.I. Joe character.
What do you even say to that?
Because of Buzz and creative team. They're working on what makes good comics.
And I think to even verify that, I'd want to see how the number 2, the number 3 sells. Like we saw earlier, Transformers number 8 outsold it. That's indicative, right? That to me means, oh, 1,000% people, more people are into this than they are Batman. The worry would be if number 2 comes out and it still beats Batman. Number 3 comes out and it still beats Batman. Those are nails in the coffin.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You can always look at a number 1 sales and be wowed, but are they going to be able to keep that up consistently?
One of the things I keep thinking about too is like we're only at the beginning of this Skybound Energon stuff. Like we've had Transformers only. Sure, we've had solo books for a lot of the GI Joe side characters, and we're finally getting the team book. It's almost going in like the reverse direction that Transformers is. But imagine we get a Bumblebee book. Imagine we get a Megatron book. Like those are still gonna hit just as hard. And like, who's to say they don't pick up other IP as well? Because they can.
Well, Universal Monsters is a thing that exists in the ecosystem, but to your point on wanting to expand the IP,
well,
like there's opportunity.
I'm talking about literally bring things into the Energon fold. Because
Hasbro owns Power Rangers.
I was going to say that because Matt was he was in the chat earlier and he mentioned the rumors about the Boom buyout maybe being sold. That's where Power Rangers is, isn't it?
Yeah. And even still, that comic is ending.
Yeah,
the Power Rangers line is ending. So if that has to do with Hasbro, sort of wanting to consolidate and make everything roughly one universe to whatever end, they could slot in there. And you're telling me a Megazord's not going to fit in with the Transformers?
It fits in perfectly with Void Rivals too.
Yeah.
And like imagine how you do the crossover figure, the action figures. Wait till we get the Void Rivals figures.
Wait, hold on. The Void Rivals and the Mighty Morphin Ninja Rangers.
Okay.
Oh my god,
it's
dude.
so good, Tyler. Oh,
dude,
it's too good.
Stop it. Oh.
But they could easily do like one of those things they did at the end of the Void Rivals 1 where it's like just a reveal that just happens.
Yeah.
And we
It's
never
a wrap.
knew about it. We
It's
never
a wrap.
heard about it.
It's
It
a
just
wrap.
happens.
If they get Power Rangers, it's a fucking
Done.
wrap.
Yeah,
That's
we're
it.
Done.
That's it.
Hasbro will own every millennial. Like that's it.
That's it. Megatron versus Megazord, pumping into my veins.
Yeah.
I can't even handle that.
But then you look
MP,
they could just start
MP
buying
with
IP.
the $10 super chat. If I were going to look for earlier eras of Batman for inspiration, I'd look at Bronze Age and early post-crisis. I think Denny O'Neil's Batman is a more sustainable and imitable basis than Morrison. Thank you for the $10 super chat, MP. I don't think people need to be emulating anybody. We need to go in a new direction. They need to just move forward. Who's the next Morrison? Who's the next Denny O'Neil?
I just think we're getting a lot of Morrison light because of the age of the creators currently. Like what they were reading is Morrison era Vertigo stuff in Batman. And when we've talked to them, that's what they were reading when they were really into comics.
I'd also argue, as far as like repeatable stuff, sort of imitable stuff pre-Morrison, that Denny O'Neil era is more sustainable. Even if your concepts are big and wild and out there, if you look to a Denny O'Neil book, you can find structure, you can find ways to keep it going and keep it interesting. Whereas Morrison is like this real hot dose of, a cool medicine. That went a different way than I wanted it to, but you get my point.
Like a NyQuil.
Thanks a lot, MP. Izzy following up with a super chat as well, $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Izzy's Issues. Izzy says, also the tabletop RPG by Renegade Studios already combines Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I kind of hope that's where it goes next. That's insane. I didn't know that.
We are in so much trouble.
Dude, this is legitimate.
We're in so much trouble.
Love it.
All the tea leaves are saying that I wouldn't be surprised if Skybound's already having discussions about it.
Yeah.
Like official discussions.
Or have already.
Yeah. How long have they had Transformers and G.I. Joe before they pulled the trigger?
Uncaged says, I think in the end, when the Ghost Machine starts crossing over a little harder, this conversation will get messier. I don't think a new IP will get over Disney Hasbro, but it's going to be huge. Well, that's another wrinkle as well. You're right. It does get messier, and there is a lot more excitement to come on the Ghost Machine end of things. I think that what's hurting them is just the fact that there's not enough right now yet. But Ghost Machine can get a Geiger TV show out or a Rook movie or show out, and then this conversation turns on its head. They just don't have the exposure yet. But once that happens, we're in another ball game.
Well, I think to that even now that Skybound and potentially Image has a connection with Hasbro, that's a direct line to the toy industry as well via the Ghost Machine universe.
Oh my god, dude!
Forget it.
Oh my god!
I need
Guys,
that Junkyard Joe 6-inch figure. Come on.
Jeff owes it to us. He owes it to us. I told him, get me that Junkyard Joe figure. He hasn't delivered yet. It's been 2 years. I'm going to need that.
I think it's inevitable.
Can't believe
Revolutionary-
Jeff John's my firstborn for Junkyard Joe figure.
Hell yeah, dude. Revolutionary Dragon with the $10 super chat. To follow up with the Morrison effect would apply to Justice League as well, with the bottom falling out with the multiverse collapsing every 6 months.
Yeah.
Revolutionary Dragon, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. And I agree. When was the last time the league was hot?
Yeah,
New 52?
Whenever Zatanna was on.
earlier, way earlier. Like hot. I don't think it's crazy to say the last time it was hot was again when Morrison was on it.
And yeah, you're right. It always felt like a book that needed to exist.
Yeah.
Just for a publishing line sort of thing. But like even like again, the Morrison thing being Morrison did Multiversity. That really fleshed out the multiverse, and yeah, people have not stopped dipping into that well constantly. As much as I love Morrison, it almost seems like it's held the DC universe back a bit.
Loving all the super chats and engagement. You guys are killing it today. We have 70 of you here with us right now. Thank you for joining us. Smash the like button. Keep the super chats coming. We appreciate every single one of you. Yeah, Atomic Hound says there's great Ghost Machine merch at the store. Absolutely, yes. I got to get me one of them hoodies.
Rami says Rook action figures with the ability to change the head between face and helmet. Oh,
Dude.
Whoa.
Yo.
Dude. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Grayson Red, New 52 had shit jumping at first for Justice League. So yeah, Grayson. I think what Kale is talking about though is that yeah, it was cool, but when it was hot, like burning hot, was prior. Because I was there at the beginning of the New 52 Justice League, and I remember a lot of people saying, "Hey, this is the same old shit."
Yep.
Yeah, it was Jeff Johns. Yeah, it was Jim Lee, and that was cool. But that first arc didn't excite that many people. You guys remember when they first met?
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like, yeah.
Isn't it haunts my dreams?
the whole
Because
discussion. Yeah, go.
It was off character. It was full of quippy one-liners. The main villain was Darkseid, which is, yeah, I guess kind of cool, but like, all your minions are generic faceless aliens. And then the costumes just didn't have any heat. Like, it was Jim Lee, sure, but like it was this pseudo armor stuff that just like didn't look that cool.
I remember
And so that first arc has been repeated and diluted so many times and somehow made worse every time. The animated part had Superman killing a guy.
What?
You don't know about that?
No.
Yeah. Somebody gets control of his mind or whatever, and he kills a guy off screen, but only off screen enough that you hear the guy scream.
Nice.
It's wild.
But even like that run, I remember the discussion being, why is Cyborg here? Why do the costumes look so ugly? And how do I justify this timeline?
Yep.
Oh, forget it. If you want to talk about timeline,
The
my
timeline,
God.
yeah, that was the discussion back then.
Gavin says that was the Jim Lee effect, if anything, and I want to agree with that. I think Jim Lee being involved was major. I know that. I mean, obviously it was Jeff Johns, but like for me, Jim Lee was like, "Yo, this is something. I want to go back and read it just for that."
I don't.
Fair enough. And good to see you, Gavin, as always.
Birds of Prey out next week.
Love it. Yeah. So I want to take this conversation a bit further because we know that Absolute DC is coming, or we believe it's coming, right? Okay, like for the sake of it, we believe it's coming. Does Absolute DC represent the military arsenal, the rockets that DC needs to launch to propel themselves back into the consistent top 5, consistent top 10? Can they get 3 to 4 of those top 10 slots via Absolute DC?
I think so, yes, because of what's in those top 10 slots every month. There's usually a number 1 in there, and it you see stuff like the Ultimate line in there as well, because they have just good teams on them, and they're recognizable names. I think if they can stick to that, I think Bleeding Cool said that like Kelly Thompson might be rumored to be one of the big names on those Absolute books. Like, her name is selling right now. You put her name on one of those big Trinity books or a League, and you get a really good artist, I think they could take a couple of those top slots. Yeah. I think it might even be smart to stagger releases too. Maybe put like 3 out when it first launches, and then a 4th, similar to what the X-Men line is doing right now, or will be doing coming up.
I think, and Dan mentions it here. I agree. I think in the short term it will, but my worry is, do those numbers stay up there come the GI Joe launch, come the Energon excitement there? Because you have an issue 1 of the Absolute, fine, whatever those characters are going to be, whatever that publishing line is going to look like, but if it doesn't maintain, then it's failing out the gate. Like that, in my mind, it should exist and be perpetually in that 1 to 2 for every number 1. That makes sense. But I would want to wait until number 4, number 5 to see, does it have the energy to carry through? Because I feel like if we take the comparison for Ultimate Spider-Man, that was hot out the gate, hot after the first couple issues. And then for us, it started to feel like, hey, things aren't simmering the same way that they once were. Are we even excited for going into the next arc? And that to me is a signifier of a universe.
But the sales are very high. Ultimate Spider-Man is doing crazy good. Every issue is the number 1 bestseller.
Not only that, every issue that comes out also comes out with a number 1 reprint of the first issue with a new costume cover. Yeah.
They're still reprinting issue 1. Yeah.
Can I make an absolute a take that is going to be probably an absolute garbage fire?
Yes.
Please.
If Scott Snyder is on the main Absolute title, whatever that ends up being, the answer to the question is no.
Well, there goes us having Scott on the show.
Interesting.
I just at this point, I don't know what he could do in that world that would make it so interesting. I don't think he's shown us that all due respect, that he can think that sort of broadly and laterally at the same time, the way sort of Hickman has with the Ultimates world and even Krakoa and Ultimate Spider-Man.
My issue too is that Snyder has already tackled Justice League, Batman, and Superman. He's been there, done that. The world has to be radically different, and he needs to have a radically, he needs to have a draw of an artist, I think, for that to be a pull. Like, the reason why Kelly excites me is because Kelly hasn't done, a Justice League book. She hasn't done Wonder Woman or Superman. I think maybe little stories here and there in like a black and white or something. But that excites me.
And she has the hot hand. And
Yeah.
where has Snyder been? Like, for people who aren't currently in DC land, what you're bringing Snyder back? Okay, cool, but I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, he's
So
been
what?
he's been in
Metal,
the
right?
digital
Dark
space.
death metal.
Well, that was what Death Metal was 5 years ago.
I, 2 eras ago,
Yeah,
right? Where we've seen the dawn of DC and rebirth since then. Like, Snyder's kind of old news.
Not only that, Metal was kind of Capullo's baby too, with the metal aspect of it.
I mean, the biggest thing for me is that Scott Snyder was the writer uh of Batman already,
Yep.
and
Yep.
was the writer of the core Batman title when the New 52 started, if I remember correctly. So what that means is that two new eras will be dominated 10 years apart, 10 plus years apart, by Scott Snyder writing Batman, theoretically. And that's
Of
not a great look.
a voice we've already had on titles we've already had.
Right. Like, it should be, this new initiative should be led by Al Ewing, Kelly Thompson, PKJ. You can even throw Joshua Williamson's name in there on something or other. People like that. The Ram V is someone who should be all over this.
Even like a Mark Waid. I know that sounds like he's an old name, but
I think the main universe needs Mark Waid.
fair.
I agree.
Fair. Yep.
I agree.
I'd also point out that when the New 52 started, like, it started where an Ultimate style line should start.
Yes.
So we've pretty much already seen it.
This has to be more radical than that.
Yep.
It has to be more.
I just don't think Snyder has it. I just don't.
What if this Batman is
don't-
in Tim's?
yeah. I don't think that DC has the gall. Like, I don't think they have the presence of mind to be like, it needs to be so radically different. It needs to be the game changer. They feel like there's a fear there, and that I think is going to be a deciding factor to introduce this world.
Let me tackle that. Let me explain why I think that there's a really good chance that we could be wrong about that. This is not the same exact DC Comics of 10 years ago. It's a wildly, radically different DC Comics from a top-end perspective. On an executive level, it's radically different. On an editorial level, it's radically different as it has ever been, because Dan Didio's not there. Dan Didio's not there. Paul Levitz is not there. So many of the people who made DC what it was, for good or bad, for 30 years before, are not there. And so when you look at DC's publishing line and you compare that to what they were doing 10 years ago, I don't know that DC had Elseworlds. I don't recall them having Elseworlds. 10 years ago, they did not have Black Label. These initiatives represent, and when you read the books, you can see it, DC's willingness to try different shit out. Now, most of that different stuff includes Batman, but Absolute is going to include Batman. I am willing to give DC the benefit of the doubt that they understand that this has to be different. But I'm not saying it's going to be like how the Ultimate Universe is obviously very different than the mainline one, but it's still recognizable. I think this will be like that. I don't think it's going to be like a Tom Taylor type different.
Right.
I think it's going to be different enough.
Right.
Do you think there are any gender or race swaps? Or is that too volatile to start a new line with?
I feel like you almost don't even like need to do that, because they have Supergirl and Batwoman and this and that. I think if you get into something like it's, Bernadette Wayne instead of Bruce, then you're in major trouble. And I don't think that's what anybody wants to see. Or Colette Kent instead of Clark. Like, that's not it.
I see the point on it, that you having the different editors and the different people, the heads of power there. But if the heads of power are coming back to the same well of, well, we know these writers, are they thinking differently? Are they willing to experience that difference? To me, it feels like, well, I know you did something good 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Let's wrangle you back in because I think you can do it again.
Well, I think Scott Snyder was chosen for this position because of his talent at showrunning. Because he does it for, his projects, his television projects. He's been doing it for Noctera, and I think there's another one. But that's what he's
the horror one.
yeah,
Trees? No.
I can't remember.
Witches.
Witches, thank you. Yes. And so I think he was chosen to be that guy.
Yeah.
And that is a very valid thing to me. I got no problem with that.
And I think as opposed to like if Scott is on the main book, whatever that ends up being, I think that won't be the ammunition that DC needs. But I think the hot talent on other books, the people he's leading, I think that'll be the stuff that really could sell and could be, the hot top 10 killer.
Yeah, exactly. We are getting an insane amount of comments right now. Like, there are so many of you talking, clearly a lot of passion behind this subject. I think we should give the audience their due a little bit here, yeah? And then we can wrap this up.
Let me start here. Comics are dope. How was Bernadette the first name off the top of your head? I was also wondering how many more names from 1800 could you put on a piece of paper?
I don't know, dude. I really can't.
You
I
say
can't answer
Claudette Kent? Colette, that's what you said, Colette. Yeah.
Colette, yeah.
You're like just naming stuff that like Victor Hugo would name his characters.
I don't know.
Esther Nigma.
Oh my God. MP says, I think more important than being different is being consistent. Having quality books reliably released that feel connected and whole, a universe readers can get invested in. Yeah. I think consistently great books are what is going to sell it for the long term, like Marco talked about. But in the immediate, what's going to get it done is hot creative teams and interesting ideas. Make no mistake. The biggest thing that Skybound has over DC and Marvel, the only thing they have over Marvel, is that everything you are seeing from them is new.
Yeah.
No, G.I. Joe is not new, right? We know G.I. Joe already, but you don't know this G.I. Joe. You don't know this version of Transformers because it's different creators telling the stories in a different sandbox.
Yep.
I also think Skybound has more of a vertical that seems to be willing to communicate with each other better. Like we talked about when we talked to Joshua Williamson, he had written Nemesis for Cobra Commander. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to be using Hasbro's design for Nemesis for a figure that wasn't even released or announced yet. Like, Cobra Commander ends, and then they announce a Nemesis figure, which is exactly like the comic book version. So there's communication between verticals, which you can assume also applies to movies and TV.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I see.
Whereas we always question, what is the communication between the verticals at DC or Marvel? So I think they're more open to that synergy that we always wanted from the big two at Skybound Hasbro.
And that pipeline, right,
Yep.
pumps out whatever you might need. Oh, this popped out into the comics. Oh, also it's gonna come in a new season of the TV show, and we just released the new whatchamacallit, the newest action figure for it.
Look at that G.I. Joe announcement. A new character will be revealed. I guarantee you that's a G.I. Joe classified before the end of the year in an announcement somewhere.
And if that's the pipeline, then one of the other things we've always talked about is the manga pipeline of production from into anime. Like, does that mean there's an emulation here where a new G.I. Joe cartoon comes out, a new Transformers cartoon comes out? You can lead with a Scarlet miniseries or whatever. Like, there's avenues for this, and that even goes on into the movie universe.
And there's avenues that exist separate from each other. Like Transformers 1 is coming out, which is more like of a kid version. They have a kids cartoon show, but then they have the actual movies that are, people are being killed and squashed and stuff like that. So They're real. They're more flexible with their IP and releasing it.
Chat, you guys are killing me with these names.
Yo,
Esther
word.
Nigma, that is hilarious, dude. Beatrice Allen.
Thank you.
And MP, I always feel like you're like auditioning to be on this show with these comments because of how brilliant they are. He says, I think the Absolute Universe has the opportunity to bring in new long-term readers by giving them versions of the characters they can feel ownership of as a fan, similar to how DC animated shows offer new generations their own versions of the same characters. That is a tremendous point. Think about how people think about Jon Stewart who only read comics versus people who think about Jon Stewart that do not read comics and only engage with DC through animated. To those people, Jon Stewart is the Green Lantern. And those people feel connected to that character. They love that character. Think about the way people think about Static and Static Shock. How many people is Static Shock important to who have never picked a comic up in their life? What if they could tap into that? Why didn't that happen? I remember when the Static book was coming out, and I would hand that book to my black friends, of which I don't have many. But these people love manga, but they don't read comics. And I said, hey, look at this. And they go, oh, Static? I used to watch that show. And they see the Nicholas Draper Ivy art, and they go, wow, this looks like the stuff I like. It worked.
You know who's doing that? Skybound and Hasbro. They're saying, oh, you know what people like? They like Beast Wars back then. Let's do a Transformers Beast Wars movie. They're tapping into that nostalgia people like. Even like Static hasn't had a good selling comic. Full stop. But there's still fervor for him. I look at, when I play Multiverses, yes, I still play the game. People always want Static in the game. There's always fervor for the character. But DC
Cool as shit.
He is.
Like, there's no reason he shouldn't be successful.
Even though he's another black guy with lightning powers. But the fact that people still enjoy him and still want him, and DC's not capitalizing that, whereas Hasbro's like, hell yeah, we're going to capitalize on everything that you want.
Yep.
That ownership piece is just related to how do you make this era the era that you go and say, well, that's my X character, that is my whatever arc. Like, if you're new to comics, I think you can capitalize on that maybe a little bit more because you're new to the world, you're new to that universe. It's all exciting, and you're going to remember the exciting moments more than you are maybe the in between middle of the road moments. And it's hard for you to do that with long-standing publishers like DC and Marvel, which is why you take advantage of that fact with Absolute. You have to make it that exciting first moment, so you can go, that's my version of Batman, that's my version of Superman, that's my version of DC.
Yeah, time is going to tell how far they're willing to go.
To that, Dan says earlier on, he said that Marvel has diehard X-Men and Spidey fans to prop things up. DC only has Batman. The question is, can DC ever establish that level of fan base for another character or book?
I think it's tough. I mean, they had something good going with Superman, and I still believe they do. We didn't go over every single bit of the sales figures, but action does pop up every now and then. I think there's something that they're not doing that people want them to do, but I don't know what it is. Wonder Woman isn't going to happen. They're not going to be able to make Wonder Woman happen. The reason is because they don't do sticky enough things with that character. What is the origin of Wonder Woman? You ask a person, every person will give you a different answer. And that is inexcusable. Everybody whines about, the fact that they show you the origin of, like, let's say Batman, right? In all these movies, but go in the street and ask a person what Batman's origin is. They know the answer. They can tell you. And people think they know his whole story because they've seen it a million times. And that's what you have to do. You cannot walk around assuming that people know everything. They don't. You have to beat them over the head with it. And every new creative team with Wonder Woman tries to reinvent the wheel with that character. That ain't working. In terms of elevating somebody, Harley Quinn is the best example of DC's ability to elevate a character. But as we know, the sales in the books don't necessarily reflect that, at least not right now. How do you change that? Putting a different creative team on the book to start with. But they have an uphill battle.
Izzy says, I know there are perpetual discussion. I know there is the perpetual discussion of lack of marketing in this industry. So does the fact that these Hasbro properties are marketed differently than comics properties contribute to this? I think so. The very first, the Void Rivals, that was a secret. That was just a surprise for everybody. That is some of the best marketing you can do. You didn't have to apply paid advertisement to that. You just had to build a compelling narrative and then provide a drop. And that shook the industry. So I think, yeah, what they're doing there with they're being very decisive with the things that they're putting out. There's a reason they're putting out Scarlet. There's a reason they put out Duke. Yes, it's to build to this larger world, but they're doing it at a very deliberate pace. And now it's going to culminate in G.I. Joe.
Yeah. They're doing it. It seems like they're doing every single thing right. Rami says, but Jeff Johns' run with Green Lantern was successful. I think this can happen again if the marketing is there and, more importantly, a strong creative team. Yes, you're right, but where is Green Lantern right now? The question was about, can they build a character that can be a perennial seller? Green Lantern sold like hotcakes under Jeff Johns' pen, but every creative team that they put on the character after him was lesser than him and did less exciting things than him. And now you don't have that big time seller like they did. That's a problem. Batman is not creative team agnostic. It matters who's working on the book, but you could put me on the book and it's probably going to sell at least in the top 10.
You're very talented though, Sean. I mean, that's not fair.
I
Put Marco
appreciate
on the book.
Well, top 5 then. All right.
Well, then it's going to be ChatGPT writing it, and we all know how that goes. It's just, I don't know. DC needs to figure some things out on the creative and marketing end of things. They really do.
Style's so serious. My only worry is that Hasbro could walk away from the successful creative team and get greedy. Nah, man. If they're thinking long term and buco bucks, you stick to this. You stick to this for as much as you can milk it.
One of the other factors too is we don't know about what, I guess, money distribution looks like at Skybound for creators. It is Image, so we have to assume they get more money than DC or Marvel, but it's still an IP property. So I'd be curious to know what the distribution of the actual, I guess, sales money goes towards creators, and then because that would really justify creators wanting to go there, and then Skybound being able to get those big name creators out from under the big two.
Skybound is getting everybody they want right now. I don't think there's a question of that.
I mean, Williamson did drop off Green Arrow, which he admittedly is his dream project, to do G.I. Joe, it seems.
Yeah, investment.
Jeffrey Groom says, interesting question. How much of things like trade paperback sales factor into top 10 sales? There's a lot of people that wait for trades now that wouldn't have historically. Yes, trades are a factor. I mean, they're not a factor in this conversation as it relates to, these sales figures, because these are about weekly floppy sales. Trades are a factor. I'm willing to bet that Batman, if we're talking about the monthly Batman book that comes out, sells better in singles than it does in trades. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. Gavin says, I'm still more excited across the board for what DC has cooking line wide. Yeah, I bet you are, Mr. DC artist.
Well, hold on. He says, as a creator, I can say I was more excited about what DC was getting going over the last couple of years. But Ultimate is super exciting, and I'm very into the new Uncanny book. And then he said what you said.
Well, I'm with you. I actually am more excited for what DC has cooking. I was just messing around. But I think I'm more excited for what DC has cooking than what Marvel does, based on what we know.
What is Marvel cooking?
X-Men
Uh,
from the ashes.
They already got it microwaved. Like, we already know what that is.
It's meat and potatoes.
Like the fucking shrimp dish at the Olive Garden.
Well, okay, we're not going to do Olive Garden slander here. When you're there, your family, okay?
Not me.
Aaron says Marvel is hungry on top talent in terms of writers. Artists are cooking on Marvel, at least from the outside perspective. I agree.
Well, they got Gavin coming up, he says, so
Yeah.
we know they're cooking.
I think that, you know, Marvel's talent pool from a writer's perspective is a little bit shallow.
Mm.
I think art-wise, yeah, you're right. They have amazing artists. Both companies do. I think Marvel might have a slight edge, but writer-wise, I don't even know if it's close, because Marvel's not paying enough to keep these people stuck. And that problem isn't going to change, apparently, because they don't care. Don't put me in a box, Sean. I'm sorry, Gavin. Wherever you go, I'll follow. MP says, how much has WB's volatile corporate situation impacted DC? WB has changed ownership, blah, blah, blah. Has that led to short-term thinking with comics? I don't think so. I think that there's probably very little that the corporate side of things impacts the comic side of things. And I believe that that has been true for some time. The biggest impact that corporate had on the comics end that I am personally aware of is the move that they made to Cali and to the, you know, the offices that were very expensive. But that isn't the same kind of problem that it was for them.
Yeah, realistically, it's like, you know, what address does the check from DC Comics go? You know.
Yeah. Let's hit a few more comments and questions before we close out this conversation. You guys are so excited about it. I love it, but there's more show we have to do. Silhouette says, how does Superman get on top 10? Jonathan Hickman. Dude, how does anything get on top 10?
Jonathan Hickman.
Right?
Man, Superman, Hickman on Superman is making me perk up. Jeez.
Yo, that'd be crazy.
That's hype.
I had to censor myself there. I want to say something else.
Speaking of Hickman, Silhouette also said earlier, by the way, Al Ewing compared this absolute DC universe to the Krakoan era X-Men in terms of creative energy and freedom.
Yep.
Writer's room energy.
Yeah.
And it's exciting that he's saying that as the creator. Like, obviously he was, you know, tangentially involved in some of the, not Hoxpox directly, but in the X-Men ancillary stuff. So there's a familiarity there that, you know, I imagine can be duplicated to some degree.
If you feel like we missed your comment and you made a good one, get it in before we close out this portion of the convo. Just send your thought over one more again for us. Stephen Price says Zeb Wells to Batman. Dude, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do?
Batman?
So then what's gonna happen? What are we gonna see happen? So Batman's gonna get back with Catwoman, right? And then Paul is gonna break them up again. She's gonna leave this fucker at the altar again, but this time it's gonna be for Paul. That's what you want?
Yo, Absolute Paul?
Absolute Paul?
Ooh.
Wow.
Tyler, you missed it. We were talking about cucking.
Unbelievable.
Your favorite subject. How could you miss it?
Would have sat in the chair.
Fresh News 24/7. Oh, that's kind of our shtick. Says better run, Dan Slott's Spider-Man or Jeff Johns' Green Lantern?
That's an interesting question. My mind wants to answer that based on how much of an impact it had on the character, like how significant it was to the character. And I think from that perspective, it has to be Jeff Johns' Green Lantern, because he was literally dead. Like, he wasn't that brand, that character was nowhere. And now, I mean, it got a movie based on what Jeff did. He expanded the color all the different Lantern Corps types. We got so much out of that. I don't really think it's a question from that perspective. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm with you. No, I agree. I think Slot had some cool stuff, but I don't think there was nothing that was so character defining that we hadn't already seen.
Yeah.
Superior was incredible, and it was a ballsy move, but we're back where we were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the idea is that Jeff brought to Green Lantern affected not only Green Lantern, but the whole DC universe.
Yeah.
Where what Slot did, even Slot's still echoing with.
Yep.
Silhouette says, IMO, too many people have done a Batman run or mini for me to even think of a new exciting writer on it. Really? I feel like there are several people that are exciting prospects, because PKJ hasn't yet had his run with the character, whether we'll get it or not. I think Kelly Thompson could theoretically, in a world, become the first woman writer on that character, at least in a very long time. And I also think that Al Ewing is a very interesting name. Now, you might think that there's a clash in terms of Al Ewing's style and Batman, but I personally am of the mind with Al now where he can do whatever he wants.
He has an ability to just craft a world and inject himself and his style into whatever he puts his mind to. He's a really good writer.
Yeah. D13CJ says, nice to listen to you guys while I'm working. Thanks. You're very welcome. You are very welcome, dude. Glad we can hang out with you while you're at work, help you get through the day a little easier.
Yo, CW Gordon's right. Al Ewing horror Batman? Yes, please. Fire.
Batman on a horror title? Wow, how original.
With Al Ewing?
What a creative thought.
But you make the joke, Cal, but when has it been done well?
That's not even the joke. Who's joking? Not me, haha, NR.
Oh no.
Oof.
No.
Please don't bring that back.
No.
Careful. Sean took mental damage.
Yes, I did. Jason Aaron to Batman, says Stephen Price. Can we
have
not?
to see? We'll have to see how this Ninja Turtles run shakes out. I think.
I mean, he's
Uncle
already
Scrooge. Maybe Uncle
doing,
Scrooge is a better barometer.
He's already doing Batman. He's doing Batman Off-World.
Great point.
And it's fine. Solid.
Gavin, come on. Gavin. Trying to do a show here, Gavin. Gavin
Listen.
said, man, I'm drawing so many fishnets. Oh, his job is so hard.
Dude, it's the half gloves for me. It's the half gloves for me. Gavin did me a huge solid and put them half gloves in a DC comic book.
Something got solid, that's for sure.
That is.
Gavin, let me that part was a joke. I obviously drawing fishnets on a million characters would be absolutely awful. I want to be very clear.
Your sarcasm was evident, Cal. I think you're okay.
Matt Garcia says, also TMNT with Jason Aaron could end up being amazing. It could. It absolutely could. You are right about that. Anything is possible. And, Jason Aaron has done a lot of really good things in the past. Thank you, Matt. Haven't seen your name before. Welcome to the live chat if you are new to us. Yes, Dan, I noticed now. Thank you very much for saying it. Tyler putting the Brainiac intelligence barometer from this week's issue of Superman.
Yo, put it on me. I'm the AI, right?
Well, Sean was getting all that mental damage from the Zernar
Right.
So.
Haha.
Haha and R, as it were.
All right. As much fun as we are having with 80 of you hanging out with us right now, we're not going anywhere. The show is far from over, but we do have to move forward from this particular conversation. But do not go anywhere, because we have some hot topics coming up. Who is replacing Zeb Wells on Spider-Man? We think we have the answer to that. Big name, potentially, on that. The future of Green Lantern on screen. Not in comics, on screen. And Marvel Studios returning to Hall H for the first time in some time. Very excited to talk about those things. I've got an announcement for you. How about that? A show-related announcement. Let's get right into that. Next week. No, not next week.
No.
Sorry. 2 weeks out. July 13th. We will be joined. You want to talk about a hot writer. You want to talk about someone having the hot hand. You want to talk about someone who could have a huge influence over Absolute DC. We will be joined by none other than Ram V on
Let's
July
go.
13th. Yes, indeed. Ram V, the mastermind behind the current Detective Comics run, one of the masterminds behind the One Hand, Six Fingers, Dawn Runner, Rare Flavors. Ram is all over the map.
I really hope he roasts Marco some more this time.
Dude, we're gonna have a good conversation on AI again. It's gonna be friendly, but you see, that's the kind of thing where like we grab a beer and we have a convo about it.
No, you guys have a good rapport. So
He's a good guy. I can't wait to ask him questions about Rare Flavors.
Questions or recipe requests?
It could be a variation of both.
It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. So, if you want to ask questions for Ram, send them in. Get them to us on Discord, which there's a link to the Discord in the description of this video here that you are watching. Get them to us in email, contact at the Comics Pals. Get them to us in DM, whatever. And guarantee this. We're doing a giveaway for one of Ram V's books that's collected. And we will be announcing the winner of that giveaway live when we are with Ram. The winner of that giveaway will be somebody who is with us live that day.
Oof.
So if you come hang out with us while we're speaking with Ram, you will have the chance to get one of Ram's books sent straight to you, straight from us, because we love to give back. Grayson Red says Dawn Runner is top tier. Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Same.
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Take care, Sylv. Enjoy your day.
Feel
Yeah,
better.
it's going to be a lot of fun, guys.
The last time we interviewed Ram, like, it was like microdosing the way he was opening up my mind. He was saying, like, I felt like I forgot I was on the podcast for a bit. I was just like listening to a podcast. I'm like, oh wait, I have to engage.
Man, him and Brian Hill are that for me.
Yep.
Yeah. Always.
Yep, every time. Turns out today is Gavin's birthday. Gavin Guidry's birthday, and you're spending it with us? Dude, happy
Holy
birthday.
cow. We should be
Another-
wearing half gloves in his honor.
I'm wearing fishnets if that counts.
Oh.
Off camera.
Let him draw you in fishnets.
Comic Pals in half gloves. Turtle power.
Be his muse. Huge shout out, Gavin. Happy birthday, Gavin Guidry, the one of the artists behind the current Birds of Prey run, Superman 78, which was awesome, by the way. Gavin deserves all your flowers. And I think if you go to GavinGuidry.com, there is a birthday sale going on right now where Gavin is selling some of his original art and some sketch pieces for a sale price. So if you want to support the man who's doing great work right now, I think he's literally doing great work right this
Right
second.
now.
Right now. If
Drawing
you want to
issue
support
13.
him, head to his website, pick up some great art, support the cause. Happy birthday, Gavin.
I have
And all the happy birthdays in the chat. Let's go, chat.
gotta love a June birthday. But also,
Yes.
I have a Wildcat by
Zenny.
Gavin on my wall. It's just a little higher up on the wall, so the camera doesn't quite get it. But I have one. It's good quality. It's good stuff. It's right next to my Steve Lieber boomerang.
Hell yeah. Love it. And let us not forget, let us remember that the Ram V interview will be taking place on one Atomic Hound's birthday. So that's a beautiful
Hey,
thing.
Oh.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Party at the kennel.
If you love what we do and you want to support us, the absolute best way to do that is by heading on over to patreon.com/thecomicspals, where we are always giving you more bang for your buck. We have a lot of things that we host over there that are exclusive, including a show called Palling Around, where your boys just hang out and talk together about some of the deepest things in our life that we don't share on this live stream with you. We keep it private for our most looped in members of the PalsVerse. I want to say thank you and a special shout out right now to the best pals in the universe: Thunderstruck Rebecca Alejandro, the Hound of Justice Atomic Hound, Starcross Catherine Stars, and the Red Spiral. And I also want to thank the Night Stalker Harris Dajinski, who's in the chat, Brian the Demolisher Del Pozo, Kefis the Incorruptible, who's in the chat, Momentum Mike Elliott, Dan the Truth Trudeau, who's in the chat, Jalen the Sanguine Sorcerer, Marley Manastorm, Slowflow Dameron, Christian Uncaged Harriet, who's in the chat, Always Laughing, the Spear of Justice, Izzy Spears, who is in the chat, the Great Destroyer, Hyper Viper 89, the Storm of Pain, Sanji San, Adam and Bernie the Best Boy, Robert Run It Back Cashaback, Pete the Dreamweaver Collins, Matthew Malice Price, and joining the PalsVerse.
Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes. Oh, by the way, Robert Cashaback is also in the chat, and so is
In the
Atomic
chat.
Hound. Yes. Joining the PalsVerse is James Just Jamming Jones.
Yo.
Music was James' first love. Where most kids couldn't wait to get out of the house and go play on weekend mornings, James was happy to sit at home and listen to the music his mother would play on the record player. Jazz, blues, pop, funk, and soul bounced off the walls of his home, the music acting as a gateway to a world of pure possibility and harmony. He would watch his mother and father dance their cares away together. The stress of bills and chaos of the world outside would fall away, and all that mattered was their love. As James got older, his appreciation for music grew as well. James and his boombox were inseparable. He got in no shortage of trouble for bringing it to school and filling the halls with his favorite songs. "What are you doing, James?" a school faculty member exclaimed. "You're supposed to be in class." He said, "Hey, ease up, Mrs. B. I'm just jamming," he coolly said back, and thus his nickname was born. James's mother grew ill during his teenage years and was sadly put into hospice care. He visited her every day and played her favorite songs for her. It didn't heal her, but he could see the elation on her face when he played music. Even if she wasn't conscious, her face would shift into a smile and he could see peace in her. The power of music made this part of her life easier, even if it did little to ease the pain inside of James watching his mother fade. One day, on the way home from school, he came upon some kids he recognized, and many he didn't, all crowded around each other. Tensions were high, and James knew this wasn't going to end well. He pushed his way through the crowd, boombox in hand. "Beat it, jamming. This ain't the place for you," one of the kids yelled out at him. Undeterred, he made his way to the middle of the gathering. He seamlessly popped a tape out of the boombox and slid another one in. The perfect tape for the occasion, he felt. He knew the danger he was putting himself in right now. These dudes meant business and wouldn't hesitate to hurt him too. But he knew the power of music and was going to defuse this situation the only way he knew how. He hit play on the box and music began to pump out of it. At first, nobody could hear it over the loud barking of the boys trying to prove how tough they are to each other. He jacked up the audio, and now all the attention turned his way. He got dirty, angry looks from many of the boys around him. Some even pushed at him. He was making a potentially very costly mistake. "Hey, you guys want to rumble? It's a free country. But after this beat drops, you're not going to want to." James set down his boombox and started moving his body, jamming to the music. He got looks of anger and disgust, but he could also see that some of the people in the crowd were starting to feel the beat. He focused on how good the music made him feel, and as weird as it sounds, tried to push that feeling out into the crowd. As he moved and the music played, the faces he saw in the crowd softened, and some of the tougher boys even started tapping their feet. James knew he had them. He amped up the music even more and let his body go, dancing and swaying to the beat, and now he could see that all the onlookers who were just here to watch the fight were dancing with him. The sea of people began to rock to the beat, and before he knew it, even the hardest among them was busting a move. Everyone was dancing with bliss on their face. They were enraptured by the music. James closed his eyes and saw him, his mother and father, cutting a rug in the living room the way they used to. That was his happy place. What was almost a huge brawl became a dance party that lasted the night and necessitated a couple of battery changes. But it was one of the best nights of James's life, one where he got to see the true power of music, one he would never forget. That was many years ago now. James was older, but no less aware of the healing power of music. He knew how to bring music to make, he knew how to make music, or I'm sorry, he knew how to use music to make people feel, to amplify the emotions music brings out of people. And looking out into the world right now, he saw a populace that needed the kind of harmony only music can bring. Welcome, James Jones, to the PalsVerse. Thanks for bringing the noise. Appreciate you, buddy.
James says, strangely enough, my parents did play lots of records during my youth.
I bet they did, man.
Damn,
There it
Sean.
is.
I bet they did.
Sean actually follows people on Facebook and does a lot of catfishing and does some social engineering to figure out origins.
You got to do your research.
You gotta do your
Yep.
research.
Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you all enjoyed that. If you want your entry into the PalsVerse, your superhero or supervillain nickname and origin, patreon.com/thecomicspals is the place to get that. All right. We've got more business to take care of. More business to take care of. And that's in the news. This week, Bleeding Cool dropped an article that I was very intrigued by, because they say that they know who's taking over Amazing Spider-Man from Zeb Wells. Everybody is tight about Amazing Spider-Man. People seem to be so unhappy. They're ready for it to end. And okay, it's ending. We know that. But who's taking up the mantle? We had that conversation last week here on the show about who was going to take over. Is it going to be Donny Cates? Is it going to be Rainbow Rowell? Is it going to be, Al Ewing? Well, according to Bleeding Cool, Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu #0, is a book that was received by some comic book stores on the day of this article dropping. And inside of it, on the back of it, is a preview of what's coming for Amazing Spider-Man. Rich Johnston wasn't able to see what was inside the book because nobody wants to rip the bag off of it. But if you read the back of it, which we were supplied by Bleeding Cool, it says, plus a new era of the Amazing Spider-Man from Joe Kelly begins here. Now, we know how Marvel moves. When Marvel put out the Free Comic Book Day pieces for Ultimates and for X-Men, Gail Simone and Dennis Camp were the writers of those respective pieces. And the artists that they're working with, Marquez and Juan Frigeri, were also the artists of those. So, if we follow that logic, which it is always true of Marvel, that means that Joe Kelly is the next main writer on Amazing Spider-Man.
All right.
How do we feel?
And the crowd goes mild.
Yeah. All right. He's done some work. He's got some accolades under him, I'm assuming.
This is very much a Zeb Wells pick. Like, quite literally. This is a guy whose biggest work was over a decade ago. I don't hate it. I typically am like, oh, cool, Joe Kelly. I'll read it. It's not a name that'll draw me to a book. Again, I think the artist is what's going to need to draw me here. Like John Romita helped Zeb Wells. But no, this is not a hot name, in my opinion.
Yeah, where you at on this?
I don't have a take on this. I don't know that I've read a Joe Kelly book.
Kafis in the chat created the modern Deadpool, so it's before the Daniel Way stuff. Then I'm not familiar.
Yeah,
Or after? Then
it's before that. I think
Before?
he was the one that kind of created the whole Deadpool talks to himself thing. Gail Simone kind of, piggybacked off of that. But I mean, Gail Simone, Zeb Wells, Joe Kelly. Marvel is going back to the well for a lot of their talent lately.
Zeb Wells.
Yeah.
I am about as excited as I was when Zeb Wells was announced, which is I know that Joe Kelly does really good work. I know that Joe Kelly can do really good Spider-Man work because Joe Kelly worked on the Brand New Day phase where they were cycling writers. He was one of them, and he was really good.
He did the Rhino stuff for Gauntlet, I think, right?
Yeah, it might have been. I don't recall. But Joe Kelly has an extensive history with the Big Two. You go on his wiki page, it is endless Big Two books: Superman, Justice League, Spider-Man, X-Men, all the big classic characters, and his work with Deadpool. I think that this is Marvel handing the reins over to another steady hand. Somebody that they know can tell exciting Spider-Man stories that will appeal to people who enjoy reading Spider-Man and don't need anything revolutionary from the character. I count myself among those people. Not that I don't want, I'm not clamoring for anything revolutionary to happen with Spider-Man. I am very pleased with Spider-Man. So Joe Kelly, a steady hand, accompanied by a hot artist, soon to be named, I would imagine. I'm sold.
But weren't we just talking about how Marvel does not get big names anymore?
Yeah.
I don't consider Joe Kelly to be a big name. He used to be.
Hold on. Let me hit you with this fact that I just learned, and now I'm kind of excited. Joe Kelly is part of Man of Action Studios, and they created Ben 10. I love Ben 10. I'm in.
But like
I'm in.
Ben 10 years ago, more like it. It's like, again, this is like people, it's like, what have you done for me lately? And I don't feel like there's been much.
Make Ben 10. It takes a while to get to Spider-Man. I don't know what you want.
If I think that perspective is interesting, Sean, because I feel like we're just coming off of a conversation about how there needs to be this big push. There needs to be this transformative experience. But you're saying the consistency is what you as a comics reader are looking for, and I think that's fair for a number of people. Yeah, you could probably apply that to your Batman, your Superman, whatever. But in this case, for Spider-Man, I think I agree with you. If you know it's selling well, if you know that you're gonna slap on an artist that is maybe gonna have a bit more cachet, or even doesn't really need to, then I think it's a tactical move on Marvel's end. Let's keep it chugging along. Why shake it up? Why change what's working?
I'm with you. I think it's difficult to do a lot with Spider-Man because of how angry the audience gets when you do different things. For as many people who say they enjoyed the Beyond era, there are just as many who say they hated it and can't stand that type of thing. So what I think the lesson Marvel learns from that is, hey, we don't need to do anything special to get people to buy this comic book.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue to get drama. It's going to continue to be a soap opera. And I think Joe Kelly can absolutely deliver the goods if those are the goods. And I think they are. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah, two points here. Kethis points out, counterpoint, Tyler. Joe Kelly went away to do something else creative and now is coming back with probably a fresh perspective and an excitement.
Sure.
Dan Trudeau points out, what bigger name could Marvel have gone with? They need a steady, reliable plan. You leave the reinvention to Hickman in the Ultimate books.
Yeah. Spitting truth.
That's fair. Yeah, it's not getting me excited for the book though. That's the thing. It's a Spider-Man book. It's Amazing Spider-Man, so I'm going to keep reading it. But like, you got to do a lot to make me drop Amazing Spider-Man.
Right, right. And I think Marvel knows that, and they're counting on that fact, right? You're not going to drop the book, so here we're going to introduce somebody that isn't going to shake things up too much. That all you have to do is really adjust maybe to tone.
Yeah, Dan says Joe Kelly can also do fun better than many. And I think that's what Amazing Spider-Man has to be.
Mm.
I really do. They put Nick Spencer on the book, and he was the writer that they chose after Dan Slott, and that shit was boring. Spider-Man was on his couch chilling with villains more than he was doing anything interesting.
You mean the Boomerang ongoing?
That was, oh my God. Awful, awful. And that I think that's what they want to avoid. There are certain people who understand the way that Spider-Man stories are told for the people who like Amazing Spider-Man. And Joe Kelly is one of those. So I'm excited. I'm excited to hear who it is that they announce to do the art, though. And to be fair, this is not Marvel announcing this. This isn't Marvel saying, hey guys, get excited. This is Bleeding Cool spoiling an announcement that is yet to come. So in a few weeks from now, we very well may get an announcement that is Joe Kelly plus whoever. This is not that moment, but knowing just this name, I'm in.
Give it a shot. Yeah, give it a shot. Wait for the artist and wait for the official announcement, because I think there's going to be more around that can help stir up a bit of excitement.
I'm curious who else they're going to try to take from this era. Well, what new Jeff Loeb Marvel comic is going to come out in November?
Well, we're getting Jeff Loeb DC comics.
That's true.
I mean, I don't have a hatred for creators whose best work came out 10 years ago. I'm not that person.
Because we're also the most excited about a creator whose best work was 30 years ago, and he's about to take over DC completely.
In Mark Waid, right?
In Mark Waid.
Yeah. I don't understand why there is a relentless distaste for creators who, were big, a decade ago or whatever. In comics, get real.
Well, I'm just saying Mark Waid has been a little more, he's been ever present in comics. That's my thing.
Not at DC.
No, but he's been doing plenty of comics elsewhere, and he's been doing Marvel, so.
Dan says you need someone who can do the soap opera without drowning out the sense of adventure. That's a tough balancing act. Exactly. Absolutely. You need someone who knows how to deliver that. 100%.
Gavin in the chat saying, I think you need that should be a fresher name if you ask me on art. Jared was a misstep. I think they're Jared fans. I think there are people who gravitate towards that style and towards what that Batman looks like. That Spider-Man looks like. And so there's I don't think you should deviate too far from the cartooniness. Or maybe you stick with who's on it right now? Ed McGuinness?
McGuinness and Knock, yeah.
And Junior, he's about to come back.
Okay. Maybe don't switch that up. Wait for that.
JR made sense for the story that was being told, like the more ground level gang Spider-Man. Like, I think that made sense. I think it's weird to pair him with McGuinness, and that kind of has given me whiplash sometimes throughout arcs. But I think there was a reason for Ramita.
Well, I mean, how can we say it's a misstep when Amazing Spider-Man is consistently the best-selling comic? It can't be a misstep. Like, are we saying that there's just it just doesn't matter at all who you put on the book? I don't feel that way. I think there are a lot of people for whom Junior is their favorite artist, their favorite Spider-Man artist, and he's recognizable. And Kefis in the chat makes an amazing point that I don't understand why people don't think this way. Any other industry, someone with 30 years experience would be heralded. No question. No question. Having 30 years of experience or however long is not a bad thing. Joe Kelly having chops is a positive thing. That's good. I want the creator to be someone whose work I trust. And in this case, Joe Kelly is that. Gavin says, I think a big name that's popped in the last 10 to 15 years will be the way to go. As far as the artist, yeah, I'm with that. I'm definitely with that.
Menez on Spider-Man.
Ooh.
Let's go.
Yeah, you sold me on that for sure. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Oh, Chillmonger asked if we thought that Joe would still be on the book at issue 1000.
Probably. I mean, if he's the main series writer, I have to imagine. We're
Especially
not that far from that.
If it's twice monthly.
Even worse. Hound says if Steven Spielberg wanted to do another season of Animaniacs, we would all be jumping up and down. And I can't tell if that's sarcasm or not.
I agree with that. They came back, and that was a good season.
Yeah, Dan, again, with another excellent point, telling the truth. It's a question about whether that writer is still doing invigorating work or a pale imitation of what they used to do. Wade's work is still hot, no matter how many years he's been at it. Exactly right, which is why there is no comparison at all between Mark Waid and Jeff Loeb.
And I think that's sort of the issue people are having with JR is just like, you know, his stuff isn't quite hitting the way it was.
It's hitting the stanky leg, that's for sure.
Well, right. I mean, there are sort of, you know, and I'm not gonna criticize his art altogether. Obviously, he's a legend, but there are, you know, it feels like there are sort of corners being cut. There are angles that are being taken that seem easier. They're not the same, you know, as they were back then, and it feels worse to a degree.
I think it's also easier to see art. You know what I mean? Like to see the quality of art
course.
over quality of writing.
Grayson Red says it represents the regression and stagnation of much of the market, though, which made me outright not even try to buy this run. How?
My thing is, it's like Mark Waid has been ever present in comics since, you know, I guess you were mentioning like Kingdom Come era, right, Cal? Like that's peak Mark Waid in your eyes.
I guess you say it's peak, yeah, sure.
But he's been ever present in there. Zeb Wells and Joe Kelly kind of went outside to do other things, and now they're kind of coming back. And it's like, oh, okay, all right. It's not like other people. Like in my eyes, it's like people have been in comics within that time, and it'd be great to see fresh blood kind of take over these new titles. And I know that can be risky, but that's kind of where I would want to see, instead of like, hey, here's somebody who was doing good Spider-Man stuff 15 years ago, who maybe went out and did TV for, you know, a decade or so, coming back. And that's where it's like, oh, okay. At least Zeb Wells, they gave him, you know, Hellions or something before that. They gave him, I think he came back for Avenging Spider-Man in the middle there somewhere. Like Joe Kelly's kind of been exclusively in animation. I just checked his IMDb for within the past decade. You compare his like IMDb with his, you know, comic book work. There's a huge gap in between the two.
But it's not like he hasn't been working.
Sure, but I'm talking about working in comics specifically. That's
But
where
he's
my
telling
gripe is.
stories.
Yeah, it's not that different.
He's a veteran comic creator who's been telling stories his entire life. What is the difference?
Like if you were writing Days of Our Lives, no. If you were writing General Hospital, then I might, you know, have some questions. But even then, no, even that works. You know, my point is, if he were writing something insanely different, you know, law briefs, then I would have some questions.
He's a copywriter.
Yeah, but you know, he's doing animation, which is chock full of superheroes. He's even if he were on General Hospital, he'd be doing the soap opera stuff. Even if you were doing Chicago PD or NCIS, like that's crime fighting.
And maybe that's where I'm coming from, because like in my eyes, it's just I'm not tapped into that world, so I don't know those names. But I assume he's still doing animation. He's just is this a sidekick?
Yeah.
Like I don't even know what that's like. But I don't know. In my eyes, I would like to see fresher blood on this.
I get that impulse, but again, when we talked about this last week, they're not going to put fresh blood on Spider-Man.
I don't think Marvel's about fresh blood at all. I think their freshest blood is artists from Italy at this point.
There you go.
Because I think it's a money thing.
Gavin says, Grayson says, I'm talking about the junior art. I see. Well, I think, look, sometimes as comic fans, right, just like anything else, you have to accept or recognize whether something is for you or not. And clearly you did, because you didn't decide to buy the run. But Marvel put John Romita on the book because the core audience for that book, which the core audience for Amazing Spider-Man is larger than the core audience for any other comic book, right? The core audience for that book likes and loves what John Romita Jr. does. So just because, and I'm not targeting you with this, I'm just saying in general, just because something isn't for you doesn't mean that it's a bad thing or that it represents something negative. Those people want John Romita Jr. on the book. They appreciated that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There is no need to be relentlessly forward in an industry where there are people like John Romita Jr. whose names still have a ton of value. All right. Let's move forward. We'll wait till Marvel themselves make that full announcement to see sort of where else things are going to go. And by the way, we have a giveaway to do today. We have a Discord giveaway that's been running since yesterday, and we're going to announce the winner of that giveaway here at the end of the show. So if you have not yet put yourself in the running for that giveaway, head on over to our Discord server and react to my post in the general chat with any reaction, and that will slot you into the giveaway. We'll announce the winner of the giveaway here at the end. The winner is going to get a piece of Comics Pals merchandise. If you want to be swagged out with a Comics Pals shirt or a hat or a cup or something like that, make sure you enter the giveaway. I'm excited to be able to give something away to you guys. Love when we get to do that. 300 Bod says JR is just okay. Well, that's a matter of perspective, right? I wasn't over the moon with the junior art throughout the run. He had his moments, I thought, but there were other people who really loved it.
Right. And if the people you're selling to like it, keep running it.
Exactly. Sometimes you just have to put aside your personal biases and see the bigger picture. What else do we have? So we've got a couple of announcements coming out of the X camp. And speaking about new and fresh creators, I would say that this is an example of Marvel putting out 2 books by 2 new and fresh creators. The first one is a Sentinels book. This is an old rumor. This was one of the books that Bleeding Cool had sussed out as a launch title for the From the Ashes era, and they were spot on. We are getting a Sentinels title that is coming from Alex Packnadel and Justin Mason.
Hey, let's go.
Packnadel did the All Against All, I believe it was called, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the All Against All book. We interviewed him about a year ago or so.
He was a good interview. That's a good episode.
Yeah.
Red Goblin as well, which is actually a pretty fun run.
Red Goblin.
Yeah.
Yes, right. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the bits I read of it anyway. So it's going to be a 5-issue limited series coming from the creative team again of Alex Packnadel and Justin Mason. And it's got a weird premise to it. So this is the Marvel solicit. With a new era of mutant kind comes a new breed of mutant hunting machines. This October, a squad of soldiers, each one scarred from earth-shattering superhero conflicts and upgraded with nanotechnology, are tasked with apprehending dangerous mutants that threaten coexistence in Sentinels, the 5-issue limited series, and then they say the creative team. While the X-Men regroup in the wake of Krakoa's fall, the government revives their infamous Sentinel program under the guidance of Lawrence Trask. A mutant himself, Lawrence is cursed with visions of an apocalyptic species war and knows exactly which evil mutants will ignite it. On the surface, his new line of Sentinels appear to be technology-enhanced superhumans, but the truth behind their creation is darker than you can imagine. As Greymalkin Prison becomes home to the villains they capture, the pieces fall into place for the birth of a major new enemy that will define the first year of X-Men from the Ashes era.
You know what this gives me sort of political vibes of? That sort of short era of time where we were talking about prisoners, people in prison firefighting for free, basically.
They still do.
Yeah, but we're not talking about it, is my point.
Because Scott Snyder's not writing a comic book about it anymore.
So the roster here is Sawtooth, Lockstep, Drumfire, and Voivod. And these characters share an interesting past. So each one of them originates from an event, a Marvel event from the past. So Sawtooth is from Secret Empire, Voivod is from World War Hulk, Drumfire from The King in Black, and Lockstep is from the death of Doctor Strange.
Who?
Exactly.
And the promo art here is confusing because you have totally different characters on this cover. Cyclops is there, Storm is there, Colossus, yeah, big names, heavy hitters, and then you scroll down and you got 4 people. It's a little confusing.
I think you might be looking at it's not a variant you're looking at, Marco?
It is a variant. It might be a variant.
It's a piece of promo art that they put out with among several. And I think they did it because obviously those characters are far more recognizable than the ones that will be in this series. And I guess the idea is that they're giving their bodies over to the Sentinel program. And their first mission is going to be to capture Omega Red. And they're targeting the quote most heinous mutants.
This is kind of given like a Reavers feel to it.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind. I don't know. I think this could be a sleeper hit. I like a villain book. And these guys could be villainous. They could have justifications. There could be varying degrees of that between the team. And also none of them are safe. These are easily disposable characters. So I don't know. I kind of like this is a different one for this lineup so far, and I'm kind of digging it.
But From the Ashes is about there's so many X titles now, right? From the Ashes is about the return of X-Men proper, a more classic X-Men, and this is new within that jurisdiction, but that's another book. I got to pay for that. I don't know that that's I don't know that it's warranted,
But let me counter that with what's more classic than the X-Men being hunted by Sentinels.
Sure. All right. Sure.
I'd also counter it with you don't have to buy it.
I'm excited for the creative team, and I've been following Justin Mason's art for quite a bit, so I'm excited that he has a book out. Definitely gonna pick up the first issue to support, but it's gonna have to do work, and I at least I trust Alex, so it'll be an interesting experience.
Yeah, I'm not excited for this. This feels a little weird to be announced. They have announced an incredible amount of books that are coming out in this fall from the Ashes era. When we talked about this, we said we'd be happy with like 5 books. This line has ballooned to almost 3 times that size, and Brevoort has been open about wanting a new #1 every month. So who knows how long or how big this line is going to get. To me, I agree with Marco. It does feel ancillary, and you don't have to buy everything, but they do need things to sell. And so if everybody decides, hey, this feels ancillary, there are way too many books already with characters that I know and love, this runs the risk of not selling, and that's not good. I hope it does sell. Alex Packnadell and Justin Mason deserve, to have a hit on their hands. I just don't know if this is that, but I would like it to be. I'll try it.
I think this could slot into like the Hellions territory of the line. One that didn't sell too well, but had some good fan acclaim to it, and runs its course in 12 issues. And then maybe that's enough to give Packnadell a chance on a bigger name title afterwards.
But then save your ammo. Like, wait for the right title.
Do you ever hear about bills, Marco? Kale, you're muted.
If Packnadell has a story, and I think he's the type of writer that wouldn't put this out there if he didn't. This is his ammo.
Flo Dameron says, I'm excited for this book, but it's crazy how this line has not started and they've already run it into the ground. It's so frustrating that I agree with that, because it's just like, dude, how many books are we getting? We don't even know the mission statement. Like, we don't even know the point of this, and we are already underwater with titles. That's just a lot. Like, yeah, this is a 5-issue mini, but boy, oh boy, do I feel hammered into the ground. And it's like, I gotta get this. I gotta at least get the first one, because we're gonna review it on PalsVerse. But how many books am I gonna keep up with, from this title or from this line?
This is a place where I think a lesson can be learned from the Skybound camp, right? Like, tease some of this stuff out. Wait, like, be patient. If I would try to gauge first what your success is going to be on these new titles. Like, wait to see how people react to certain things, and then strategically decide, I'm going to move this over here. Maybe we'll push back this release. Like, especially if you have the work, right? Then that means you can parse it out how you need to. This feels like, let's throw as much as we can at the wall, which is an experience that we typically get post a new event, post a new kind of era change, and see what sticks, instead of let's slowly filter these things out and make the things that we're sending out matter so that they stick.
This debuts in October, so a little bit later into the From the Ashes era. And yeah, Gavin, it is a 5-issue miniseries, so not probably in any type of danger of cancellation. So at the very least, they'll get to tell their story, which is good. And Alex Packnadell is a person who is thinking thoughtfully about the stories that he's telling. So I'm inclined to want to see what he's got in store. And hopefully it's worthwhile. The other title that Marvel has announced is a Mystique book. We're getting a Mystique solo series, another 5-issue limited book, where Declan is going to, I think, write and draw. Yeah, he's going to write and draw it. And this is the pitch. On Krakoa, Mystique united with her wife Destiny and forged new relationships with her children, Rogue and Nightcrawler. Now that the mutant nation has fallen, Mystique's vicious methods are required once more to protect mutants everywhere. With a hit list as long as her rap sheet, Mystique's actions catch the attention of Nick Fury, erupting in a deadly game of cat and mouse as the elusive shapeshifter infiltrates her way across the Marvel Universe. Complete with a new costume, Mystique's new saga harkens back to her beloved early 2000s spy series as she takes on a new and pivotal role in the current mutant landscape. Okay.
This is right in Declan's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a bit like Old Dog. This is like his Nick Fury run, which is probably going to tie directly into that.
Even time after time.
Yeah.
My thing, Mystique was by far one of my favorite characters out of the Krakoan era, but a lot of that hinged on her pursuit and relationship of Destiny. I would love to know how much of that's going to be in here.
Right.
At least in this list, it seems like the motivation is to save or protect mutant kind. So maybe there is a bit of a protection
Well,
aspect.
mutant kind, yeah.
Sure. Is Destiny going to be her Q?
Not Destiny kind. You know, if she protecting Destiny from Nick Fury, fuck yeah, dude, that would rule.
The first thing that caught my eye here is the art. It feels like his style's changed a bit. It always seemed a little more like scratchy and inked, like washes. Clean lines here. Not as much of the shading. It's interesting.
This feels a lot like his Moon Knight stuff to me.
Okay.
Which again, a little more ground level, kind of action book. I think this is a good fit. I'm excited for this. I really like Mystique as a character. Probably one of my favorite X characters. So honestly, out of all of the new books announced so far, this is probably up there for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I dig Declan. And I've enjoyed pretty much everything of his that I've seen. I will say I haven't seen his art in a while. It's mostly been his writing stuff that we've seen. He's doing Thundercats right now. I believe he's the writer of Thundercats.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was fine. I think he'll be able to go a little more towards his roots with this.
Was Old Dog him on art?
Yeah.
Did he do the art on Old Dog?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. That was solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blaze, man. Art is channeling a little JR. Kind of see that. Not to the same degree, but
Right.
there's a change. It feels distinct.
Yeah. This is cool. This is cool. But what's also cool is that Marvel is making their grand return to Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, I thought it was at SawCon.
Not getting that one over again.
Damn it.
So this is fantastic. They're going to be taking over Hall H once again. I would imagine it's not a guarantee. But at least not that night. But it's very probable that that's going to be the case. This is going to be coming after Deadpool and Wolverine, which is very likely to do tremendous at the box office. But the big question is, what are they going to have to show us? Because they don't have anything else coming out in 2025. We know about, Fantastic Four and Captain America and Thunderbolts coming out next year. So I guess we could see some footage from that. Thunderbolts did wrap filming recently, so we could see something from that. But Fantastic Four hasn't started shooting yet. It starts shooting the day after San Diego Comic-Con. And Captain America Brave New World has shot stuff. I don't know if they're ready to show it. Well, they must be able to show something because they did show footage at earlier cons this year. So that's most likely what we'll get to see is some Thunderbolts and Captain America Brave New World. What I am most excited for, though, what I think we can almost be rest assured about, is that they're going to show us their restructured timeline. Because so much has been in flux. We don't know where, Blade sits on the timeline now, or, now that Daredevil's been remixed and redone, where does that sit? What's going to be absent? Armor Wars was a TV show, now a movie. What's the timeline on that? There are so many question marks with Marvel Studios that I think this San Diego Comic-Con has an opportunity to be really eye-opening for us, and this is why they are going to San Diego, because they want that big stage.
Yeah, I think we can expect maybe a Red Hulk reveal finally for Cap in some form of visual sense. I think we can probably get maybe a costume reveal of Fantastic Four if they're shooting the next day. assume they've done costume, set already. I can see maybe Ryan Reynolds showing up as Deadpool to hype up Deadpool Wolverine.
Hell yeah.
That's a classic Hall H move. Maybe some more news on some of the animation, the Spider-Man one that Leonardo Romero kind of did designs for. Maybe the Eyes of Wakanda. I think there's an animated Wakanda thing in the works too. But I'm excited to know what these Avengers movies are. I got to assume we get retooled names, or at least announcements of what the names of that. Secret Wars is staying Secret Wars. We can pretty much guarantee that. But the other one, and if there's a Young Avengers in there as well, I think those are two big things that we need answers to.
Yeah.
Are they ready for that though?
They have to be.
I mean, it's a Marvel staple to do these kinds of events and show off the timeline. And again, given how messed up things have gotten, I sort of think they need to give us those answers. And if they don't know what Avengers 5 is even going to be called at this point, then that's crazy. Like, they have to know the name of the thing.
Yeah, I think we could maybe expect a name, and I would love to know at least who's on it in some form. Like if they can pull the nostalgia cord and do that thing like they did for the first Avengers movie that got people hyped, was bring out all the actors. So and so playing like Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow, Mark Ruffalo playing Hulk. If they can do that again for their next Avengers movie and kind of announce who that team is, like imagine they said New Avengers is coming out, and then it's like they bring out Cumberbatch and Tom, and I think that could bring some hype back to the Marvel universe that I think it needs.
Yeah, I completely agree. Marowak Oscuro says they already showed the costumes in the poster. Yeah, that's true. Kefis says Blade ain't happening. Come on, what the heck? What do you mean Blade ain't happening?
That's bait, Sean. That's bait.
You want to run it back, Kefis?
No.
You think Blade is not going to come out at all? I think Mahershala Ali will be at San Diego Comic-Con. How about that?
Yo, Sean's risking run it back because Casherback's in the chat right now. That's why.
I
Turn back time if he needs to.
I think Mahershala Ali is looking at that new Green Lantern thing, being like, "Man, I picked the wrong team."
I don't know about a 50-year-old Jon Stewart, but
oof.
Is Shang-Chi director still doing Avengers? That's Uncanny Suit asking us. I don't think so. No, I think he's been off the project for quite some time, actually. Yeah, that got changed a while ago.
I think the new rumor is Sean Levy, right? Who's doing Deadpool Wolverine is one of the new rumored guys. Yeah, I think we get a solidification of that as well.
You'll take it? What do you mean you'll take it? You'll take what? You think Blade is not coming out? That's what you're standing on? That Blade will not release?
Period.
You want to go?
Did you like the taste of that loss so much, Sean, that you're picking it again?
No. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Kefis and I had a bet many years ago where he said that the Fantastic Four movie would not release before 2025. The fucker was right. I owed him an omnibus. I delivered on my promise, and I said I would never bet a listener again. But if you're telling me that you don't think Blade will ever come out, and there's no timeline on that, then you're bugging.
Tyler, write this down.
He's
doing it.
We got to be explicit about what the terms are
we need terms here. Is it an MCU Blade? I think if it's absent from the timeline, if they come out with a new timeline, you're fucked, Sean.
Blade will be on the timeline.
If Mahershala Ali backs out, it's done.
Sean, what if Blade's not on the timeline, but Midnight Suns is? That's a technicality, no doubt. Boo over. You're fucked there.
I would lose because we're talking Blade. Yeah. I got no problem with that. We're talking specifically Blade.
Ooh.
I don't know, man.
I smell it.
I don't think Kev's too far off on this one.
He's saying it.
How could I be wrong? We're saying no timetable. So how could I be wrong? There could be a Blade movie that comes out 5 years from now, and I'll be right.
There could be one that comes out 50 years from now. Like that's why we need specifics here.
Mr. Knickerbocker says it will come out, but not anytime soon. Maybe 10 years from now. That's a win for me, dude. That's a win for me.
Do the you think you're such hot shit? Put that Sinister Six money on it.
No.
Oh, you think I forgot, huh?
No, I would not. I would not do that.
Refresh my memory on that one, Cal.
Well, I think I have to refresh my memory on it. Sean and I made a bet that by 2028,
28.
a Sinister Six film would come out. And I think it was $500.
Yep.
Who's on what side? Sean's on pro. That it will
I'm
come
on
out?
pro. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
on pro.
Sean, you better start saving.
Look, thank goodness you guys support us on Patreon. Flo.
Wait, hold on.
Kefis says no Mahershala Ali Blade. That's the stakes that he's laying down.
So to speak.
Wait, no, he's saying no MCU Blade.
He said no. He said no Mahershala Ali Blade. That's the comment he
last
just
one,
left.
Oh,
yeah.
did I miss that? Oh, I just okay.
What do you
on, big
say,
man.
chat? Should I do it, chat? Should I take the bet? Should I put myself at risk of owing him another omnibus?
Would it be a Blade omnibus? Because good luck with that.
Yeah, what would that even be?
More
Although by the
expensive than our bet.
Atomic Count says, would an animated movie count that is incorporated by reference on Disney Plus?
No.
If
Come
if
on.
if Mahershala Ali is the voice, I would say yes.
No.
No?
Maybe.
Look, I'm willing to accept the terms if chat is with me.
Chillmonger's
Marco,
with you.
get that poll up.
I'm ready. I'm working on it.
He says, who's betting in here? It better not be Sean.
I know. I said I wouldn't do any more bets, but it just feels like such a winnable bet.
Marco, this better be a clear yes or no in your options here. Do not make this more complicated.
I don't want to lose again.
Uncanny.
I hate that.
Uncanny Suit says, what happens first, Blade or Morbius 2? Well, we know Morbius 2 is like Sony doesn't give a shit. Like,
I would say Blade would come out before Morbius 2.
Morbius 2 could be announced and released within a year. Like
That is true.
yep. Because
That
we've had
is true.
3 Venom movies in like 4 years. And they just farted out Madam Web and nobody cared.
Atomic Count says there is a Blade the Early Years omnibus. Listen, I don't think either Kefis or I want that. I think we're both good on that.
what's the early years like when he just has like a day job? He's not the day walker, he's the day jobber. He's just before vampire.
Coming out of his 9 to 5.
Here we go. Marco got that poll up. Should Sean take the bet? Blade will come out, but without Mahershala Ali. And the votes are climbing.
Vote.
Can we vote? I'm going to vote.
Go ahead, vote. Let me know,
voting.
guys. What should I do? Should I take this vote? Should I take this bet or not? I'll go where you guys go. If you vote yes and say that I should take the bet, I'll take the bet.
Yeah, Gavin says this is how addiction works.
This is how insanity
Hey.
works because I said I would never do this again. I don't gamble in my real life. I don't even buy so much as a lottery ticket. I don't like gambling.
No sports betting.
You play TCG cards, Sean.
That's not
I'd-
gambling. That's
I'd argue
skill-based.
opening the packs is gambling.
No, I don't do that. I buy.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I don't do that. I'm not a gambler. I
Well,
buy
you
what
know
I
they
need.
say 99% of gamblers stop right before they hit it
Oh,
big.
no. I'm not a gambler. Listen. I hate gambling.
I do.
I would never.
I do. I'm not a gambling man.
And Sean Mahershala Ali has to be Blade, right? He can't just be in the Blade movie.
No, he has to be Blade.
Okay.
If those are the terms, if Kefis agrees, Blade movie starring Mahershala Ali as Blade, no timeline.
All right.
No timeline?
No
Gotta be a
timeline.
No, there's got to be a timeline.
He's 50. I mean,
It wouldn't matter because if he drops out, then it's over.
Right.
It's not a matter of
Okay.
whether or not the movie comes out in a time frame. It's is he going to do the movie or not?
God.
So as long as it goes into production, with him in the role, I win. As long as he shoots the movie, I win.
I would say, okay, we have
Agrees.
a bet.
He agreed. And you know what? 23 votes says
We have
yes.
a construction
61%.
of a bet.
All right. All right, Kefis, let's run it back.
You dirty
Damn.
dog.
Let's do it. I'm with it.
60%. Man, we are awful, guys. We did a bad thing here.
I brought Kefis over from Longbox too, so I apologize.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm
Tyler-
not losing again, Kefis.
Tyler, write this information down so that we have it for the in memoriam video.
Oh, I took a screenshot and I pinned it. I'm pinning
Okay,
it. to
I
the,
trust Marco to be more organized than I am.
And Kefis, just so we're clear, I'm in need of, what am I in need of? Hickman's Avengers. I don't think I have that omnibus.
Nah, you got to go harder, Sean. Ask for a JMS Thor omnibus. Those things are super expensive.
Do I think I actually own that.
Oh,
I,
then
I,
you can.
I believe I own that.
You could sell it to pay Kel later for the Sinister Six thing. That's your collateral. Hold on to that one.
Oh my god. They should recast him with John Boyega. Knickerbocker, what are you trying to do to me, bro?
Listen, he's right, though.
Sylv, you make a good point. You make a great point. Betting on a movie struggling to get made is not wise. You're absolutely right. I didn't say I was wise. I never said that. I just know that I want this bet. I know that I have a legitimate shot of winning this, and I think my shot is better than my shot was with FF, because who could have predicted COVID? Who could have predicted the writer's
No,
strike?
wait, hold on.
I personally can't wait for another worldwide virus to hit and put this off.
It's gonna be vampirism this time.
Yep.
That'll be advantage for Mahershala Ali. He'll be immortal.
Marowak, Blade's daughter will debut before Blade himself. Listen, if there is a Daughter of Blade movie, well, no, that wouldn't count.
Nope, wouldn't count.
Wouldn't count.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like how he was about to work that in, though. He was
Yep.
really good.
I wouldn't mind
No,
that. Give Danny Lore her check for that character, but yeah.
I stick to the letter of the deal. The letter of the deal is Mahershala Ali Blade. I'm in. Jeffrey Groom's super confused. What do you mean? Does he not know the movie has already been basically canceled? That's not the case. That is not true.
Basically doesn't mean anything.
Is it in development hell? Yes. You are absolutely right. It is in development hell. Canceled? No. And I say that Mahershala Ali will appear on that stage in Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con, and he will help Marvel reinvigorate belief in this movie dropping. That is what I say. Mark my words. 1 month from now, we will know.
Someone clip that.
Go ahead, clip it.
Oh, I'm making a mental note of this one.
Yeah,
it.
let's make a smaller bet. I don't think that's gonna happen.
I'm not making a smaller bet. I'm not making
Let's
the
make
only
another
person
bet,
I
actually.
make bets with is
a
Kefis.
lot smaller.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen.
You
I
don't think he's
that's
going to
what-
appear
Nah, no.
at San Diego?
Nope.
Come
Blazeman
Nope.
had a good point. After what Ali's lawyer said, I wouldn't have taken that bet. I think there's some friction now.
That's okay. That can all be resolved. Scarlett Johansson she sued Disney and she's coming back. Trust me. This is all okay. This is all okay. I feel very confident that Mahershala Ali will be at San Diego Comic-Con. And I'm going to tell you something. If I have to find out where that fucker lives and park outside and beg him to show up that day, that's what I will do. That is what I will do.
That would be more expensive than an omnibus, Sean.
Yo, he stroll up.
It's not about the money, Tyler. I need to win.
Izzy said, I have a professional opinion about the morality of this group now. If I'm not mistaken, Izzy just graduated from like seminary or some shit. So I think we're in trouble.
Oh my goodness. What did I just do?
I think. Oh boy, Sean. I don't think this is the right call.
It's already been made.
Love it.
It's
I
a
love it.
handshake agreement with Kefis, digital handshake. I have agreed. It's done.
I love it.
It's done. Knickerbocker says maybe it comes out, but let's take a minute to think. What movie in development hell has been good?
Not the point.
Well, yeah, hey, look, I don't care if the movie sucks. I don't. All I care about is the fact that it comes out with Mahershala Ali playing Blade. That's all. That's all.
Comics are dope. Might have it in here.
Coming to your rescue.
He says, I once spoke to Mahershala's stepdad when I was working at a call center. I may know how to find. BJ.
I feel like there's
BJ,
My
listen.
man.
Pass me the number, bro. I'll do the rest. All I need is the number. All I need is the number. I'll do the rest.
there's a lot of illegal things happening in that chain there.
No, it's not illegal to give someone a phone number.
How you get it is the question.
Him giving me a phone number is perfectly valid. Hook it up. I'll make the call. Mahershala and Ali and I, listen, I love True Detective Season 3. We can talk. We could talk. 50 years old, he could be my dad. Maybe he has lessons for me. Mentor. And all he has to do for me is be in Blade. I'm telling you.
All he has to do is completely rewrite his life schedule.
No.
Well, not rewriting. That's what he wants.
Marvel
He's
for it.
committed.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a short, and he's gonna hear it. He's like, "My boy Sean needs help. I, as Blade, am coming to his rescue."
Tektronic, exactly. It's not always about the money, Spider-Man. It's about sending a message. A message to Kephis. Yeah, you won the first time around, but I'm going to get my lick back. And the way that I'm going to do that is via Blade. Mahershala Ali will come through for me. Kevin Feige let me down once, that fucker, but he won't do it again. He won't. He won't.
I can't wait to see Blade not on that timeline.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
This is bad. This is so bad. Like 2 years from now, there's going to...
It's more like 3 weeks from now, Sean. This is going to be a quick turnaround, I feel.
Can't wait to roast your ass.
If it's not on the
again.
timeline, that means it's not existing, right?
No. Nope. I'm not taking that. That's not a part of this. That's not a part of this. Just because it's not on the timeline doesn't mean it's not going to come out.
Have we had an MC movie be announced then canceled?
Early. El Muerte, bro.
It's Sony.
Damn.
That's
Man.
not an MCU. I
Damn.
can't think of any.
But like, how are they announced as canceled? Like, they're not really announced as canceled. It's usually like a Deadline or a Hollywood Reporter thing that just says it's been quietly canceled.
Can you think of an MCU movie that's been canceled?
Not an MCU one, no. But like,
No.
like El Muerte, it was one of those articles that just announced like, hey, it's been quietly stopped production.
Yeah.
So is that?
I don't think their development to release pipeline is better than any other filmmaker, film studio. This movie's coming out. It's coming out.
But what is considered the stop that it's not coming out? Like a Hollywood Reporter or a Deadline article saying it's been.
I would say it
stopped
would have
work
to
on.
be Mahershala Ali and his camp saying, "No, we're out. We're done."
Okay,
Yeah.
him leaving.
Him dropping out of the project is enough. It's not enough for the movie to release.
Yeah.
He has to not be in it for me to lose. Even if the movie comes out, if he's not in it, I lose.
But he's not going to be on that stage either. So
Inhumans?
Not a movie.
Inhumans
TV show.
wasn't a movie. Well, it was originally a movie, then they made it into a TV show, but it was never, I don't believe it was announced as a movie. I don't recall. But the project did release in some way.
Right.
All right. Bet is established. We know what it is. We will move on. Kephis, don't do this shit to me again.
you dirty dog.
Yeah.
You did it to
And
yourself,
chat-
Sean.
All of you who voted yes, if you think that I'm crazy right now and you voted yes, you're a part of this.
Yeah.
So you blame yourself if this
Yeah.
goes
Oh,
wrong
yeah.
for me.
Culpable.
Blame
1000%.
yourself. Yep. Look in the mirror when you want to ascribe blame.
Atomic Count, episode 500 retrospective of our favorite pals moments. This is it.
All right. Speaking of things that have been in development hell and announced, finally, we have confirmation, or reconfirmation, that the HBO Green Lantern series will be releasing, starring Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart in the lead. This is something that we've been hearing about for years, that HBO wanted to make a sort of buddy cop, true detective-ish series that takes place over years, starring multiple Green Lanterns. I believe originally it was going to be 3 timelines, one with Hal, one with Guy, and one with someone else, and it would take place over 3
Alan.
different decades. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is something a little bit more scaled back. This is going to be more true detective-esque, is what I'm reading, which is kind of cool. The first 8 episodes have been ordered to season for HBO. This is not being developed by Greg Berlanti, who of course was the architect behind most of their shows in the past. So he's out of the picture for this. They are pulling on True Detective Night Country writer Chris Mundy, who will be the showrunner. That does not inspire faith in me. I thought that season was really bad. Not everybody agrees with that. That was just
The
my opinion.
most recent?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Tom King and Damon Lindelof
Well,
are going to be writers and executive producers. Now, that does make me pretty excited.
half of that makes me excited.
Which
Sort of
half?
a mixed bag of an announcement.
Which half?
The Damon Lindelof.
Okay.
It ain't the Tom King part. I think I'm done with Tom King.
Ooh.
The Lindelof
Damn,
part
so
is more
go ahead, Tyler.
is more uneven, I feel. Tom King writing out of continuity DC stories that have a set beginning, middle, and end. Pretty good track record.
Like that.
I think this has the potential to be pretty damn good. HBO series largely hit, in my experience. That's my favorite television network in terms of shows. This is the description. The series follows new recruit Jon Stewart and Lantern legend Hal Jordan, 2 intergalactic cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. I think that's pretty cool.
What worries me about this is what Kevin Kefis has to say. Do you guys think it being true detective-ish will equal low use of powers? That's what also worries me about the Tom King attachment. Is his out of character bullshit means we might not see actual Green Lantern stuff until episode 3 of a 6-episode season.
The hard light powers are essentially going to be detective mode from Arkham City, just using those green things to like look for fingerprints and stuff, which I don't hate that. And you lead up to a big battle that could be more superhero-y. I'm not. We saw what big bombastic Green Lantern fights could be in the original movie. I'm okay for something a little different.
But my worry there is then what makes it Green Lantern? Just the fact that it's Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart in name alone? You know, like if we're not getting some of the tropes,
do that. Just make it
True Detective season 5. You know,
Detective Chimp. Yeah.
Like I feel like in that case you're not playing up to the potential of what that series could be with the usage of powers and with the fact that it's space cops, not on the ground cops.
Atomic Count says, as long as the Heartland does not include Sanctuary. What if that is the mystery they're investigating? It's a superhero mystery.
No. God, no.
And there are some heroes that
he's got to make up for Heroes of Crisis. Here comes the big Tom King rehab like they did with Wally.
I feel like this can be excellent. I am a big proponent of a Green Lantern film. I think that that is something that DC needs to go back to and stop worrying about what happened over a decade ago. Like, we get it, the movie didn't work, move on. That can be amazing. But if they're sort of hesitant and they want to test the water first, then getting Damon Lindelof, who did Watchmen, which as a singular season might be my favorite show ever, or at least my favorite season of a show ever.
Yep.
Bringing that cachet to this with Tom King to do something, I think is a recipe for something that I'll probably like a lot.
And Tom King seems to be the glue that connects this to the greater James Gunn DCU, because he's working with James Gunn on a couple of things. So that also makes sense. And Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. This is HBO, not Max. It was originally supposed to be Max, and they greenlit it for HBO now. Am I right in reading that?
It's HBO, but we don't know necessarily what that will ultimately mean. We do know that HBO has been pulling things that were originally slated for Max and making them HBO properties. Some things are still from the power battle, the power struggle that existed before that led to Zack Snyder's Justice League being released on Max. We don't know that for sure, but I'm inclined to think that this is going to be an HBO property, like core HBO.
Which seems like that means they have good faith in it. Potentially.
I don't know if I'm not willing to read that into it. But yeah, this is pretty cool. Do we have any I saw some questions. Somebody asked if this was going to be if this was going to connect to the DCU. Yeah, Blaze Man. Yes. This connects to the James Gunn DCU. Yep.
How do you guys feel about them not being contemporaries? One being older and the other being a new recruit.
Love it. I think
Really?
that's really interesting because yes, we won't get the early years of Hal, Jordan, and stuff like that, but what it sets up is a lineage. And Hal is okay, he's the greatest Green Lantern, he's this, okay, boom. So we don't have to tell that story. He can play that role. John Stewart is the new upstart Green Lantern. He can be the one who's in the movies. They make movies about this guy who's still learning the ropes, still on the ascent, and Hal can be, a supporting character in an environment like that. I think establishing that there are tiers of lanterns is really smart, and it opens the door for even more lanterns to come through the door in the future.
I'd also argue it's just classic buddy cop trope.
Well, it's also history.
Yeah.
John Stewart was originally Hal Jordan's partner in that same respect, and he was a young, brash recruit that didn't want to play by the Guardians' rules. The first thing he does when he gets the costume from the ring is he takes the mask and throws it on the ground, because what's the point?
I love that. I think it's so fun.
The art they keep using for this is the Earth One Green Lantern art. Like, that's what everyone keeps, any kind of press release. They show that who's that by?
It's by Gabriel Hardman.
Gabriel Hardman, yes. Have any of you read that? Is it going to be more than just the art? Just this is what they use for it, or do you think there's going to be some kind of pulling from that? I haven't read it, so I can't speak to it.
I didn't read it. I think they're doing this because the art looks sort of dark and cool and hard. I think it makes sense for HBO.
Also has John as a Yellow Lantern, so I don't think they're doing that.
Right.
Say it again, sorry?
It looks like John's a Yellow Lantern in that art, too, so I don't think they're going to be pulling from that. I think this is, yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Atomic Hound asks, is there any difference between HBO and Max in terms of the streaming service? Not for your experience of it, in the sense that, like, internally there is a difference, but everything that's on HBO, that airs on HBO, airs on Max. It's just about exclusivity. Some things are Max exclusive, and some things, play on both. basically.
In the
Like,
HBO,
yeah, go ahead.
the HBO stuff is cable, so like I know it seems like it's not a big deal. What's the difference between HBO and Max? But there's a lot of people out there who still only have cable and don't have streamers, so
Sure.
more people can see it on HBO than Max.
And we are, yes. Flo Dameron says it'll be interesting because Guy is also in this universe. Yes, Guy Gardner is being played by Nathan Fillion, and he will almost assuredly be in the Superman film. So how that plays out will be interesting as well. He was always my pick for like core Green Lantern, like playing Hal, but that's too late for that.
Too old.
Yeah. Uncanny Suit says, I really don't need to see young Hal unless you're doing something like DC New Frontier where it's a period piece.
That makes sense. More apt for the era he's from.
I think it's at this point in the comic book zeitgeist, we've probably seen pretty much what a young Hal Jordan will look like. You know, I don't think that's an overall weird element that we would need to really reinvestigate, because it's pretty average. I think this part, John being the young upstart, is the interesting bit.
And what's the mystery?
Who knows?
Someone said earlier, forgive me, chat, but someone said earlier, what if it's they're investigating Sinestro's trail of death and his lead to like the Yellow Ring or something.
Yeah, I gotta
Like
hear
that-
Mr. Knickerbocker.
Oh, that's good.
Like why he turns evil and they're chasing his wake of dead bodies.
There we go. Yeah, that was Knickerbocker. You said.
Yeah,
I fuck with that.
Full of good ideas.
that's
guy.
cool.
Tektronic asks, do you think the Guy Gardner casting is too old? Well, I don't. And the only reason why I say that is because I don't think that Guy Gardner is going to be a factor in the greater DCU. Like, I'm sure that Hal and John will have a lot of things to do. They might be a part of additional movies, be the main character. I think Guy is in this to establish that there are other Green Lanterns, and he'll probably be a bit of a joke.
I wonder if he'll just be there as an Easter egg.
Could be.
Because when Gardner his first appearance was as like it was like Hal's lawyer, bail
Bail officer?
Something, yeah, bail bondsman, something like that. He was a
Bailiff?
no, he took a he played football and he took a really intense injury to the head after this and became the Guy Gardner we know because he had this massive personality shift.
I have an ongoing theory that the Superman movie and the characters we're going to see is going to be about a world where superheroes are initially a little bit more brutal, a little bit harder edged, and that Superman is going to be inspired by seeing the Authority and the way that they do things, not to do things like them, but to do things differently than they do. And so having Guy be the one in this movie, in my mind, could be due to that. Maybe he sees a Green Lantern that's harder edged, kind of a douchebag, and it just reinforces his thoughts about what superheroes can be.
Yeah, and I see that being an already established, maybe that he's on a team or something, and then spinning that off into like some animated thing, like Howling Commandos, where like he could be on his goofy team somewhere, and Fillion can do some voice work for him. And, yeah, that's how I
Justice League International,
which I think would be a great adult animated show. Honestly, yeah.
All right, let's get to the giveaway that we promised. We asked you guys to react to my post in the general chat of our Discord server. A whole bunch of you did. Let's see. What do we have? 11, 15, 17, 20, 2, 3, 4, 25 of you reacted. That's a great number. Thank you guys for that. Marco, please stop reacting to these. It is not helpful.
Yeah, dude, for real.
Yeah, we want to give you guys something. So, Tyler, you ready for that?
I am, yeah. So let's go and pick a random name. Newbie, but frequent Discord person. Boar. Boar wins this one.
Oh,
shit.
Boar, fellow New Yorker. Okay,
So-
Boar.
Well,
Well,
that cheap shipping.
I don't know that Boar has actually discovered the podcast yet, which
Yeah.
is hilarious.
That's all right.
But yeah, that is fine. We can reach out and get them, something like that, something cool. We do have a merch store. We do, sell stuff of that nature. Our shirts and hats and stuff like that. We don't promote it too much, but it does exist. I think the stuff's pretty cool. I actually need to order a new shirt. But yeah, if you guys ever want to do that, the link is in the description.
I just got my dad a pint glass and a hat for Father's Day.
Hey.
Giving him my
That's
own merch.
fucking hilarious. I just got my dad my coffee cup.
Oh, cool. I was looking at the coffee cup and I'm like, I kind of want that. But that was for myself. But
I gotta get one for myself. It's my coffee cup.
That's hilarious. Let me check the like counter. Let me see what we're at. Whoa, we are at 65 likes. Okay,
let's get 4 more. Let's get 4 more.
Can we get 4 more? Are there 4 people in here who haven't yet liked the video? Are you watching us without liking or subscribing? Are you committing the cardinal sin of YouTube?
Come on.
Like the video if you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you're into us. Let's see if we can hit 4 more, and then we can play a game and jump out of here, huh? It's been a great stream so far. Inkology, what's up? Says Jesse Plemons as Guy would be great.
I kind of like that, actually. Meth Damon as Guy is, that's a good pick.
Damon. Shit. I like Jesse Plemons. Yeah.
I gotta look this guy up. Everybody talks about Jesse Plemons, but I've never freaking heard of it.
Yorgos Lanthimos is his greatest fan, apparently. So
Atomic Hound says Mrs. H loves her water bottle and coffee cup. That's what's up, man. I don't know if you guys saw, but a few weeks ago, Jeff Johns shared a picture on his Instagram, and he uses our cup as a holder for his pencils and things like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I do the same thing, actually. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
We, guys, you know what that means? We are the holder of Jeff Johns' tools. When Jeff Johns needs to reach for a pen,
Oh, a pen. Okay.
he comes to us. He comes to us.
Hell yeah.
Reaches out to the comics pals.
Thank you, Tektronic, for the like. Appreciate everybody with the likes. Saw Mr. Knickerbocker subscribed a little earlier. Thank you for that. Uncanny says the Comics Pals hat is fuego. If I wore hats, I'd wear it.
All right, we just soared past 69. All right, thank you guys.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you guys so much.
Now we can't 69, but I guess
Fine.
that's all right.
That's fine.
I wasn't looking forward to it.
Well, I mean, listen.
Well, I guess some of us are a little more generous lovers, Sean.
Yeah. All right. I'm not going to touch that anymore.
That's fair.
Well, that's
Should we roll? Should I spin the wheel, Sean?
I thought it was spinning.
All right, let's spin it. Here we go. What do we got? Oh, we haven't done this one in a while. Buy or sell?
Ah, okay. That's good. Buy or sell. This is a game where I present you guys with some different options, and you guys tell me whether you want to buy or sell on them. Buying on it means you want it, you like it, you bring on whatever it is. Like, I like this so much that I'm buying on it. Selling on something means you don't like it, you don't want it, and you would rather that not exist. All right? So here we go. I, for this one, went with some options that, to be fair, are more of my era of Marvel Comics. But I think at least Tyler and Kale will be able to smell what I'm cooking with this. Hopefully Marco can, get with it as we discuss. But here's the options. Buy or sell on the biggest reveal All right. Your favorite of these reveals.
Hmm.
When Elektra was revealed as a Skrull from New
Mhm.
Avengers.
Okay.
When Captain America was assassinated in Captain America 25. Or Spider-Man unmasking in front of the public.
Cool. I'm done. I've got it.
So in this scenario, what we buy, the rest that we don't buy, never happened.
Yeah, you don't even need to concern yourself too much with that, but like you prefer what you choose over what you don't.
I want this. I'm
Yeah,
shoving the other stuff away.
yeah.
I've got it. I know my answer.
Go for it.
Elektra being a skull. I'm buying
Skrull.
on. Skrull. Elektra
Okay.
having a skull as a Skrull. I'm buying on. That was a comics changing moment for me. It ushered in an unseen era that we had no idea the hype was coming. It planted questions throughout the Marvel universe for years that were only answered really in one moment, and that one moment was immensely satisfying. So to me, there's no question in these choices, it's Elektra.
Okay. Marco, do you have a pick here?
I do. I've only read 2 of these.
Oh, okay.
So it would have to be Spider-Man unmasking. That's such a huge moment in my comics reading of a hero taking the risks, taking going beyond just going out there, but now involving the people that they love, and that felt like real consequences. That felt like it brought that down to the world outside my window. Like if that had popped out in the news, right? I'm like, oh shit, maybe I went to high school with that kid because he's from Queens or something. Like that feels important to the world at large there. So yeah, that'd be mine.
Well, strangely enough, mine's Captain America.
Huh.
I think when that happened, that was national news. That when Captain America was killed, that was everywhere. If you weren't like, I know the Spider-Man thing was probably in a couple of news articles here and there, but Captain America, a lot of news articles here and there. But Captain America dying was massive. Sure, he didn't really die, and it was pretty quickly changed, but I think that's also like a culmination of like one of my favorite runs of comics ever, Brubaker's Cap run. And I think the subsequent Bucky Cap stuff is phenomenal. I love Bucky Cap. One of my favorite Cap runs ever. So I just have a real personal nostalgia for that era of Captain America that kind of weighs out the other 2 options in my eyes.
Okay. So I am deeply connected to each of these events taking place, but only one of them enthralled me. And so, for me, this is pretty easy. I choose Elektra being a Skrull. That was unbelievably shocking. Spider-Man unveiling himself, shocking. But we, the reader, already knew that. Cap wasn't even dead. Elektra being dead and a Skrull, the way they revealed that in a random issue of New Avengers and what it set up for everything that would come in Secret Invasion and the implications of that took my mind out of my brain and cooked it.
Yep.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I would have to go with Elektra being a Skrull. That's something I actually haven't read probably at the very least a decade, probably 15 years. I would love to go back to that.
Same.
Did we ever do a Secret Invasion book club?
No.
I think we
We
I-
almost
tossed it
did.
around.
Yeah.
We almost
wanted
did.
It was
to,
definitely
yeah.
on a poll. I remember photoshopping it because I think it was
Yeah.
my pick for something.
It
I,
lost. Yeah.
I definitely want to. That feels like such a gap in history for me.
It's wild because you can't even replicate that moment. Like to actually get the correct feeling of it, you would have to read so much.
Yeah.
Because right after, no. Yeah, no. It was right after Civil War. Right after
Yeah.
Civil War. It was the first thing that happened right after Civil War.
That spread into the whole distrust post
Exactly.
Civil War.
Yeah. And so like people thought Tony was a scroll. People thought, Hank was a scroll. Like it was everywhere. It was absolutely everywhere.
And that's also back when they
And-
used to market comics.
Yeah. And the marketing on this was crazy. And to me, that's why the Captain America and the Spider-Man bits, like they're big, but they're both the kind of thing that are so comic book that you saw what was going to happen as soon as it, you saw the future of those moments as soon as you read the panel. Oh, Captain America's dead. Okay, he'll come back. Oh, Spider-Man unmasked. It'll get reversed. Don't worry. But Elektra's a scroll? What the fuck does that mean?
And she was also like a non-relevant enough character. Like relevant,
Yeah.
like well known,
Yep.
but not super relevant. It made you
Yep.
think, oh, okay, hold on.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Especially when you consider that the early issues of New Avengers were all about trust and a lack of trust. And then that happened. That shit was insane. It does, like Kale said, I think Kale said it really well. It does require you to have been a more active reader. Just that moment in a vacuum won't do it for you. Like if you just see that panel, it's meaningless. It's a reward for those of us who were on the ball at that time. Chat feels Captain America being assassinated was the biggest moment. They bought on that and sold on Elektra and Spider-Man. I get it. That was huge. I got Spider-Man and Cap spoiled for me by the news at the time.
When Spider-Man unmasked, I was reading it in the store. Like I was just like standing there reading it, and I threw it down and I went, I'm never buying a Spider-Man again. And then I picked it up and put it back in the stand. But I didn't pick it up until later in Civil War when he, turned to Cap's side. And
When Spider-Man did that, I wasn't reading comics at the time, but I remember reading about that online, and that's what kicked off me reading Civil War, and then the rest of then it's smooth sailing from there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I think that might have been the inciting incident, I guess,
yeah, sure.
for me to read modern day comics.
Boom.
All right. The next time we're going to hang out is Thursday for
No.
Pals Pulls. That'll be
Wednesday,
live.
no?
Oh, Wednesday. Thank you
No,
so much,
sir.
Marco. Wednesday. Because July 4th is on Thursday, we are going to do Pals Pulls on Wednesday. We're going to read our books
Somehow.
and then somehow get here to do the show live at 6 p.m. Eastern.
So if you want a fully baked opinion, you're going to have to go somewhere else. You're going to get a red opinion, but not a fully formed one.
Half baked.
That's right.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got some really excellent books on tap for this week. I'll share those with you. Absolute Power #1. We're finally getting that. It is event season, baby. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Batman 150, Birds of Prey 11, Scarlet #2, and Spider-Man Reign #2. And of course, whatever wins the listener pick poll, which you guys should make sure you vote in before you are done with us for the weekend. Make sure that you vote in the listener pick poll. This is a 6-book week, and we're doing the reviews on a Wednesday, and DC doesn't release their books on Tuesdays anymore. Little PSA for you. So we're in trouble, guys. It's going to be a lot
I'm
of fun.
especially in trouble. I'm 6 hours ahead of you, and I have to work a 9-hour shift. I don't know how this is going to happen.
Rough.
But listeners, can you pick free agents just because I can read that earlier.
And then, of course, we will be back next Saturday for this very show. Make sure you nominate a book for the DC Event Month book club. You can nominate those books anywhere that you can contact us. Just share a name of a DC event you want us to do, and it will be added to the list. We have gotten so many nominations already. I have been tracking them, and honestly, we probably don't even need any more. I think the winners are pretty clear.
Yeah.
But please do add more nominations to the pile.
It's actually surprising to see the one that I keep seeing pop up.
Yup. It's gonna be very interesting. It's gonna be very, very interesting. All right, guys, we're out of here. Thank you for another amazing stream. You are all fantastic. We love you. We will see you next week. Until then, take care, guys.
Hey, see you